Good evening, everyone. We're going to call this meeting to order. We've been putting members of the commission. This is the meeting of the Commission and City Plan, June 16, 2026. We have three regular members here tonight, myself, Dean Nason, Nilla Miles online, and we have two alternates that we're going to see. Jason Bugby, who's here in person, and Dennis Jenkins, who's also on. And with that, we have a full forum. First, this is the approval of minutes from May 19th meeting. So we have to make a motion.
This is Al. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
And so do we have a second?
Second by Dennis.
We have a motion and a second to accept the minutes from the May 19th meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so those minutes are accepted. Deanna, we have some communications.
See,
Before I proceed any further, I'll just ask anybody to please either silence or turn off your cell phones tonight. Or any interruption with cell phone during the session. Be a good example.
so,
Patients.
yep, so we have, from the town of Preston, they have zoning amendments, related to the new statutory requirements regarding mixed-use development, site plan and summary reviews. So they have parking requirements, industrial district, parking requirements, and then it goes on, specifically about village district, more parking requirements. We reviewed this and there's no intermunicipal impact on that. Then we have town of Franklin, they're doing zoning regulations as well. Here they're doing conservation and traffic mitigation overlay districts in their C1 and C2 zoning districts. And again, that's all related to middle housing parking requirements of statute. It's effective in July, and there's no intermunicipal impact on that. Sprague, they sent us a copy of their legal notice. They're having a public hearing June 3rd, which is already passed, regarding zoning map amendments for conservation and traffic mitigation, and zoning regulations regarding soil and erosion control, and there'll be municipal impacts on that. And that's the last one. Let's see, there's a Sprague one for this is one previously. So that's what we have. Staff has no comment, any referrals.
We don't need to make any action, take any action.
You do not.
We've done old business. We have certain public hearings tonight. And I just want to let the crowd know that this is an unusual crowd for our commission. We usually have either none or two or three people go up. So the way the public hearings work is once we open the public hearing, the applicant has a time to make a presentation regarding their application. Once the applicant has finished their application, then we take comments from the public. The first comments come from people who are speaking in favor of the application. And when people are done speaking in favor of the application, we hear from people who are speaking in opposition. Tonight, because of the crowd, we're going to ask everybody who wants to speak, if you haven't already done so, to sign in. And when you come up, state your name and address. And we're going to limit people to 3 minutes because of the number of people here tonight. So that's the way we're going to proceed. Well, we're going to just go as they come. So anyway, the first matter on public hearings tonight is special permit 2603, 248 Broadway and 26 Broad Street. It's a request for a special permit in accordance with zoning regulation section 4.1 for philanthropic and religious uses, including continued use of the church hall for regular weekly worship, the operation of seasonal overnight shelter through April 1st, hours not to exceed 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. in the Memorial Hall, office use for TVCCA during regular business hours, continued use of the church space for community events, fundraisers, spending, and gatherings by TVCCA and its associated organizations, including St. Mark's Lutheran Church, the application of Thames Valley Council for Community Action, Inc., Joshua Kelly, CEO, its property at St. Mark's Evangelical Lutheran Church of Norwich, Connecticut, Inc., Joseph M. Trudy, President, this is Assessor's Map 92, Block 3, Blocks 5 and 7, which is zone R10. This matter was postponed from May 19th. So at this time, I would take a motion from the members to open the public hearing.
I make a motion to open the public hearing.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
This is Ella. I'll second.
Do we have a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing is not open. We would ask if the applicant here is ready to proceed.
Thank you very much for your time tonight. Thank you everybody for being here. I would like to invite Pastor Eric Heinrich to join me, not necessarily this second Eric, just because there's not a ton of room up here, but as we go along, if at any point you want to come on up, and certainly once I reach the point where we're coming to the end, I'll get it for you and bring you on up. But I certainly will. I'm Josh Kelly. I'm the CEO of Thames Valley Council for Community Action, located at 401 West Thames Street here in Norwich. I'd also like to submit for the record 12 letters of support before I lose track of them. Thank you very much. So, I want to make sure that I'm as comprehensive as possible in this presentation, knowing that there are, well, actually, because I'm just going to pull this, I think you know much better.
No, that's okay.
No. So this application, I want to make sure that I am as specific as possible, but also be brief and leave room for more specific questions to come from you as the audience. So we are the Thames Valley Council for Community Action. We are applying right now to partner, and that's one of the reasons why I referenced Pastor Eric Heinrich, partner with the St. Mark's Lutheran Church to make sure that the property at 248 Broadway, which is currently used by St. Mark's, is able to continue that use very positively forward and perpetually going forward, and also to augment the use of this site. The augmentations, as we'll go through, as mentioned, include office space use and the expansion of a overnight cold weather shelter. If you wouldn't mind. So a little bit about us, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide in general. We're your neighbors. TVCCA has been here since 1965, and we've been a core part of the Norwich community through that time. I don't know how many of you here in the audience may have interacted with TVCCA personally, or maybe know somebody who does, but we are an organization founded out of the Economic Opportunity Act in 1964. We are a federally designated community action agency, meaning our federal mission is to abolish poverty in our catchment area. We predominantly serve in Money County. In the first 10 years of the work that we did, poverty fell significantly, but as we all know, this, especially with rising costs, especially with the economy as it currently stands, we have more families that are falling into poverty and more individuals who are falling into poverty than certainly we've seen in the years prior to our current predicament. So if you wouldn't mind going to the next slides. We are one of 9 community action agencies. There are many others that operate throughout the state of Connecticut. And if you wouldn't mind getting the next slide again. I can show you that we produce services for predominantly New London County, as you can see there in blue. All of our core services are focused here, but we also extend these services up into Windham County, part of Holland County, the entirety of Middlesex County, and 2 towns into New Haven County. The services that we provide on the next slide. The locations. We are here in Norwich. We have been a presence in Norwich since the very beginning of our work. New London is another location where we do a lot of our business. And as you'll see over the next couple of slides, if you just flip through them quick, we have a number of childcare centers, some of which operate here in Norwich, some of which operate in nearby towns. All of this is connected to the very core work that we do. We have already provided cold weather sheltering, not just over the last 2 years, though that's true, but also in years past, actually at the 401 West Thames Street facility. That was set up in a different way, a different capacity, under different regulations. It's not feasible for us at this time to reopen a shelter at 401 West Thames Street, which some of you may know a little bit better as the Uncas on Thames facility. But I'll go through some of that as we go along. One of the, and I hope you'll understand, some of the comments that I give now are not necessarily pertinent to the zoning commission, but address very serious concerns that have been brought forward by neighbors that I want to make sure are addressed before we continue to go down any slippery slope of questions not being answered. So there are a number of other services that TVCCA provides. Our core service is the Community Service Block Grant. That is a federal block grant. It's what makes us a community action agency. It allows us to connect with individuals who are living at or below 125% of the federal poverty line. So take that federal poverty income level and we'll do the math on that. We work with individuals to provide case management services. But for anybody who has, and we have over 10,000 individuals in New London County alone who are connected with energy services, many of whom live in Norwich. Head Start and Little Learners, as you saw, we have a number of childcare centers, and these are state and federally funded childcare programs. For some of them are probably, if not serving you and your family, likely a neighbor. Employment and training programs out of our American Jobs Center are provided, housing programming, and a whole lot more, especially focused around early childhood and housing and poverty, and making sure that individuals have an opportunity in southeastern Connecticut to climb their way out of poverty. Fueling my neighbors. So let's talk about the cold weather shelter specifically. The current iteration of the cold weather shelter, as I mentioned, has been in operation for 2 winters. This began around the beginning of November in 2024. City officials contacted TVCCA with a question: would we be able to open an overnight cold weather shelter should the city council authorize one to open in the Buckingham Building, which is currently operated by the city of Norwich? The answer, TVCCA, I see a couple of staff members and a couple of board members here in the room. Anybody who knows us, you know that we don't say no, we say yes and. What else can we do? And that was very true here. So we were able to work with city officials to get that open in December 2024. That operated in the first year until mid-March of 2025. This wasn't a sustainable model. There were some cases that were worked out in terms of the building, but beyond that, it was the funding that was really the question mark. We couldn't keep asking the city of Norwich to fund this service when we know how overtaxed the individuals here are. It is a significant concern, especially for the individuals that we're trying most desperately to help, with property taxes being a regressive tax. So, with the help of some state officials, and in this case, our primary champion was Senator Kathy Austin. There were many others who participated in these conversations. Within the state appropriation process, a sum of money was set aside for Norwich cold weather sheltering that allowed us to open this year. Yes, still in the Buckingham. Buckingham Building has severe limitations. As I mentioned, we had some kinks when it came to the size of the building and the internal structure. It's not sufficient in size to hold more than 16 individuals who are guests, plus 2 to make a total of 18 staff members who would stay awake overnight and watch the individuals within this cold weather shelter. We're very grateful to the state for having provided this. It means that the impetus is not on TVCCA to try and piece together out of our donations and try to find yet another program to fund patients. But it also means that this funding is not on the backs of Norwich taxpayers alone. So we decided, and it was very evident that this was necessary, to find a new location for the Norwich cold weather shelter. This is already funded by the state of Connecticut. There's funding in place to start this coming November cold weather up. But in order to use your tax dollars, we were able to only shelter 16 individuals. With a new location, we would be able to use that same tax dollar to have many more who were able to get out of the cold. If you wouldn't mind hitting the next slide. And thank you for that. So why do we need shelter in general, and why do we need to expand access? The bottom line, people are dying. This is not an exaggeration. There were 8 individuals in the first 6 weeks of 2026 alone who died in Connecticut who were homeless as a result of being exposed to the elements. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. People are dying, and we need to make sure, from a sanctity of life perspective, from a neighborly perspective, you name it, we need to make sure that people have a place to go inside. A roof begets more progress. A housing first model is a homelessness assistance approach. It's trying to understand that individuals without a roof over their heads. Imagine trying to get ready to go to work in the morning and you don't have a roof. Imagine trying to get a job or apply for a job and you don't have a roof. Never mind any basic amenities, never mind internet, never mind a stove to cook food on. If you don't have a roof over your head, you're going to have a hard time getting and keeping a job, caring for yourself, staying healthy, you name it. So we know from all of the work that we've done as TVCCA, but also internationally, seeing all of the results that have come from a housing first model approach, we know that somebody having a roof over their head leads to better outcomes for them across the board. And our mission is to get people out of poverty. And I think our mission as a city is to try and make sure that people who are living in poverty have a chance to step out of that, have a chance to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Yes, sometimes with a helping hand, just like the shelter, but to make sure that our city is able to keep moving towards prosperity together. And this is a very important part of that. Sheer volume, though, is the last item that I'll mention under this tab. So far in 2026 alone, the Eastern Coordinated Access Network, which does operate in conjunction with TVCCA, very happy to have the director here with us tonight. They've counted approximately 212 individuals who missed the Norwich zip code that were literally homeless, and another 133 that reached out as being imminently homeless. Just this year, just in Norwich, right now. So we're in a position where we understand that Norwich has a homelessness problem. We understand that there is a desire for a cold weather shelter. We understand that we don't want more people to die. So the question is how to move forward. And if you want to move to the next slide. So we had to assess a lot of different factors, and we're still doing that right now. And we're still having this conversation around what can improve the location itself. But a location for a warming shelter. Number one, it needs to be someplace that's actually accessible. People need to be able to use it. We don't want to spend taxpayer dollars on something that isn't actually going to help overall. That's a waste of your money. It's a waste of our time. It's a waste of good resources that really could have gone to help somebody else. So you need a central location, access to public transit, access to other city amenities, including the soup kitchen. Something that's walkable in a walkable area within a given city. You need a large enough space that will hold as many people as possible safely, which is far more than 16. We knew that 16 was deficient. It was not meeting the needs of the community, and thus we needed to find a larger space. We needed an allowable zone. I will share with everybody directly that we were disappointed at the way that the city plan lays out what is permissible. We had thought that we found, just as a one singular example, a great space within the old train station, something that was off of the main street, something that was very large and could accommodate really as many people as we could possibly need. As you saw, there are hundreds of people in Norwich who need these services. But unfortunately, it falls within the Chelsea district. And as you all know, philanthropic uses, this particular use is not in the Chelsea district. So we had to find an allowable zone and a specific property that was within said allowable zone. Parking capacity, yes. a lot of individuals who are unsheltered are in cars. A lot of individuals who are unsheltered are 65 up, and a lot of individuals who are sheltered have jobs. A lot of them are leaving the shelter to go to their job or are coming in a little bit late because they're getting home from their job. Jobs require some level of parking, some level of infrastructure for cars to be able to come in, and the like. Beyond that, we also need to make sure we have controlled entry points and adequate security capacity to make sure that this was going to be a facility that had no safety or security concerns, as we'll talk about going forward. So this particular property, let's talk about it. 248 Broadway. The first determination that we had to make as we went through, this was nowhere near the first location that we looked at, nor was the last. Other locations that we reviewed were not feasible for the creation of a cold weather shelter. We reviewed physically in person and through zoning codes a multitude of different sites across the city. That included sites that were near St. Vincent de Paul, as I mentioned, the old train station building, other church buildings for feasibility, and none of us, for a variety of reasons, whether it was cost, logistics, diminished capacity, security concerns, none of them provided us with the opportunity that St. Mark's has provided us. A partnership for prosperity. This was something that I immediately was gravitating towards. St. Mark's and TVCCA have a shared mission of helping those in need. The partnership is evident, it's self-evident, it's natural. Homeless individuals are already visiting St. Mark's for community meals and the like, and they are extremely philanthropic in their work. This is an opportunity to keep another church building open in greater Purgatory in Norwich, instead of seeing more buildings closed, more buildings divided up, and going unused and becoming attractive nuisances. And that is really the one thing I think that this neighborhood would be most devastated by, is the creation truly of an attractive nuisance that is going to draw the kinds of activity that I think many in the neighborhood are concerned will be brought here by individuals who are guests at a shelter. An attractive nuisance is something that is not monitored. It's something that can very easily lead to a variety of activities that are both illegal and unseemly and unsightly. And it's something certainly that we would not want to see in our neighborhood, and it's something we would not tolerate. By keeping operations nearly 24/7, especially through the winter months at this facility, you're going to have eyes and ears at pretty much all times of day throughout the year, giving us an opportunity to really make sure that this is a tight ship. But then beyond that, it's an ideal location. While we want philanthropic uses to be permitted in many more areas around the city, St. Mark's presents us with an alternative that's close enough to public transit, close enough to the downtown area, and large enough to nearly quadruple the capacity that we have with 16 individuals at the parking lot. It's segmented in such a way as to make the operation both safe and efficient. So the uses, let's talk about what these really mean and what it's really going to look like. And I will share that between now and the next hearing, we haven't finalized anything, but certainly Eric and I over at St. Mark's have talked about having an open house of some kind for anybody who's concerned and would like to see the inside, what this is really going to look like in person. We are going to work to try and make that a reality. The uses that you're going to see inside, I will show you a few different diagrams that will help better detail this in just a second. Philanthropic uses. TVCCA is going to use the rearmost room of the church, not right by the roadway, as far from Broadway as possible towards the parking lot for this cold weather shelter. It's going to be a single room, one room that everybody is going to have a cot in if they're coming into the shelter. And this is only going to be in play, and as was noticed by the commission, from the middle of November through the middle of April, the coldest months of the year, and the operational hours would be from 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. The actual use by individuals within the facility itself would be from 7 to 7. The extra hours are a buffer so that we can have setup and break down time, because other activities are going to keep occurring within the space while we are, or during the day, I should say. So this is a very limited use. It's not something that most people are honestly going to see. It's going to be dark out by the time those months of the year. when this opens up. Dark when people are walking in, it's going to be pretty dark still while folks are walking out, except maybe in those very fringe dates. Religious use, St. Mark's Church, we are working with the congregation. I'm very thrilled to have so many members of the congregation here today, and to continue to be such a wonderful partner with us. The religious use at St. Mark's Church is going to be just as present as ever. They are going to make use of all major areas around the church facility, as they currently do, for worship and religious events. This is going to include their main congregation hall, but also a small sanctuary off to the side, which will be noted in the diagram that will come in the next couple of slides. Office spaces. St. Mark's Church currently uses a number of office spaces. They're going to minimize their footprint, and TVCCA is going to use more of those offices just because we're growing. The need in our community, unfortunately, is growing. There's no good easy way to say that. I mean, even thinking about some of the numbers that we looked at just when we started this cold weather shelter 2 years ago, not necessarily by droves, but we're talking about a higher number today of individuals who are literally homeless than we were just 2 years ago. So the trend is going in the wrong direction. And if you wouldn't mind. This is pretty small. This is a document that is accessible and can be made accessible if you contact TVCCA. It is accessible through the city's records. This is the site plan for the 248 Broadway property. In just a second, and actually, if you wouldn't mind just hitting the next button, let's go into more detail on the building itself. I'm going to approach the front here just so that everybody has a very clear idea of what they're looking at. Broadway is over here on the right-hand side of the screen as you look at it. The general religious use is going to continue to be here in the assembly hall right at the front of the building. And the shelter use is going to be at the very rear of the building, as far away from the street as possible. There is a kitchen that's off to the side of this. We are not going to use that to prepare any meals. We're going to use that simply to serve pre-prepared meals for individuals who are at the overnight shelter. And then there are a series of offices and some storage that are on the left, as you look at it from the street, the left-hand side of the building. And there's a courtyard in the center as well. An opportunity for individuals who are at the shelter to step away from the indoor confines of and perhaps be able to speak for a few minutes without disturbing the individuals inside who are sleeping, without actually needing to go out into the neighborhood or onto the property. So that's a quick look at the layout inside as it will appear. If you wouldn't mind hitting the next one. How does the shelter work? I want to make sure that everybody's very clear about this. The shelter, first and foremost, needs to be established. Obviously, zoning approval has to be made first. There are specifications that are required by the state, by the local fire marshal, building official, following the International Building Code. And of course, all of this needs to be put together long before we're opening our doors. Once all of that's set up and open, we are going to literally have cots that can be assembled and disassembled within this space. Because like I said, there are other programs that are going to continue to operate and other church uses that are going to continue to happen within this space. When somebody wants to go to the shelter, skipping ahead a little bit, just so you understand what the intake process is like. TVCCA will advertise the opening of the shelter in the community and with community partners, those who need it. These are adults with no children, age 18 and up. We are not looking to open a family shelter. There are other uses. There are other shelters that can be made available to individuals who fall into a more family category. And we're going to work to get them connected to different confines. But individuals who are adults with no children, age 18 and up, are going to self-identify that they have a need, and they'll come to the shelter at its opening. It's at 7 p.m. The intake process. TVCCA has full-time staff that will stay awake the entire time, multiple staff, so at least 2, if not more, depending on the capacity that's going to be met. 2 or more individuals who will be greeting individuals at the door. A screening occurs. Personal information is taken. Data is entered into our management systems. And that way we have an understanding of who's coming to this shelter. How often are they coming? Are they going to other shelters? We share that information with the state and with other partners. So we register each encounter with guests and we understand who is in our neighborhood and who's in our community. Step 4 is security. TVCCA staff are equipped already. This is already been taken care of in past iterations of this cold weather shelter. They're already equipped with metal detectors and other resources to make sure that they're screening out weapons and other undesirable items from entering the shelter. Step 5 is sleep. The individuals who attend this shelter are not interested in putting themselves in a position where they're never going to be allowed back. They're not interested in putting themselves in a position where they're going to be even more tired the next day out on the street in possibly -degree temperatures. They're interested in getting the best night's sleep that they can, and usually come in as somebody who has worked the shelter, albeit limitedly, but who has seen it myself. They are tired, they want to go to sleep, and they don't want to cause trouble. So there are a few that might stay up, read a little bit. Personally, when I worked at the cold weather shelter, had a great opportunity to catch up with some folks who were reading. They might talk quietly, need a snack, step out into, if they need a breath of fresh air, that courtyard. But ultimately, folks are going to sleep, they're staying asleep through that time. Step 6 is departure. Not everyone is leaving at once. This is not a mass exodus, everybody line up and at 7 p.m., the starter pistol goes off and everybody's off to the races. This is a very different situation. Many guests leave early to either walk to get wherever it is that they go. They have their own routines. They're people just like us. Or to get to their jobs. Whether they're walking to their jobs, they have their own vehicle that might be parked out back that they'll need to take to their jobs, or they're getting a ride. Oftentimes they are getting up before the shelter closes, I should say. Others are waking up and yes, they are being ushered out to the door. This is not going to be a mass exodus. I'll talk about the numbers we're expecting to see in the shelter in just a couple minutes. But with staggered departure times, you're never going to see a massive group of people wandering through the Broadway community. And the staff also logs the exits of guests. So there's also been some questions that have been presented to me about what else is going on at this shelter, okay? As if it would be nefarious. No, we're really here to try and help. We've been here for over 60 years trying to help. Families, as I said, are not sheltered at this facility. Families are connected to other services, other family shelters and appropriate services like Wake Family Bridge and others that we offer. TVCCA staff, however, on sheltered individuals connect to housing programs to make sure that we are moving them out of homelessness. The point is not to keep them in a shelter. The point is not to keep them in any given neighborhood. The point is to get them into a home where they're once again contributing as a taxpayer, where they're once again feeling the level of happiness, pride, and self-accountability that they want to feel, and making sure that they are moving in as positive a direction as they can. TVCCA also will connect individuals who are in need of jobs. Like I said, many individuals who are at the shelters are already in sometimes not just one, but multiple jobs. But if they're in need of a job for some reason and don't already have one, we do offer a lot of programming at the Job Center. This is a great opportunity to connect with these individuals in the community and get them into the Department of Labor Center and the American Job Center. Case management also is offered through our community service cooperative. Like I said, that's for individuals who are living pretty close to or below the poverty level. And we want to make sure that we are working hand in hand with them to get out of poverty, to make sure that they are once again joining Norwich in the way that we all want them to be able to enjoy and join. So emergency services and sheltering. I'm putting this up front. I don't want anyone to say that there was no transparency. 911 was called at the shelter last year. It was called 11 times. 4 were because of self-reports by guests for medical attention. They said, help me, I need medical attention. 1 was for a mental health crisis, somebody who really needed to talk to somebody who was going through a mental health crisis. 1 was a staff-initiated need for medical attention. They need help. I'm going to call 911 for them. And 5 calls were to address disturbances. With 16 guests a night, over 105 nights. That means every single person who walked through the door had left it on one chance that 911 was going to be called because of that. It's a lot of people to walk through. It's a lot of opportunity for us to have really delivered. So yes, we all know that there are individuals in our community who have more needs. A lot of them minimum. A lot of them really necessary to make sure that they are getting in front of a medical professional so that they can live as well as possible. But we're in a position where our staff is trained on what to do here. We have managed the shelter both the last 2 years running, and 11 calls compared to what I've seen at other shelters is incredibly small. Some shelters you'll see more than a call a night. So this is a really wonderful track record that TVCCA has been able to establish in a very small and not as well thought out facility. And this is going to be an opportunity for us in a new facility with all of these security concerns taken care of and addressed to make sure that we are continuing to move in the right direction, bring those 911 calls down to the extent possible. Security on site. So it's not just about safety, security as well. All shelter guests are registered, like I said, and logged through that central database that tracks who they are, how often they're seen at the shelter. TVCCA staff equipped with metal detectors and other equipment to keep the interior safe. A main entryway will have a security camera. That means we're going to be able to record. Please come on in. That means we're going to have an opportunity to catch and log or record individuals as they're walking into the facility and as they're exiting. We'll have a log of all of that. Even if a TVCCA, not that we expect that they would, even if a TVCCA staff person isn't able to lock it down within a time. The St. Mark's Lutheran Church is also amenable to cameras around the perimeter of the property. I know that there has been some concern from neighbors that's been expressed. And we are in a position where TVCCA is able and willing to do this. The St. Mark's community is we're very grateful to them for being open to this opportunity. But it would allow our individuals who are on staff within the facility to be able to review what's happening outside the facility, to make sure that the neighborhood isn't being disturbed. There aren't individuals who can't find an entryway, whatever the case might be. More safety on site. TVCCA, as I mentioned, will have multiple staff members up and awake on site through all open hours as it has been the past 2 years. And zoning approval will be contingent, of course, as I expected would be on fire marshal and building approvals to ensure that safety is paramount. TVCCA will not cook any meals on site to serve, only pre-prepared food will be available. And this is important. Rule violators are subject to permanent removal from the shelter. We call this, some individuals have referred to this as a road barrier shelter. Yes, we're trying to get as many people off the street from freezing, life-threatening conditions into the warmth as possible. That doesn't mean that the rules don't apply to them. What it does mean is that there are a very clear set of expectations that are shared with them when they first come into the shelter. And somebody who violates those rules is going to be ejected and is not going to be in the shelter. So shelter guests, like I said, I don't want to reiterate myself too much, but not all shelter guests are going to all be leaving at 7 a.m. The 7 a.m. final closure departure is before NFA's 7:30 start time. That's something that I do think is important to note. And with more people leaving a little bit earlier than 7 o'clock, I don't think that you'll see our sidewalks to any extent very congested. All guests are directed and will be directed to come directly to and from the shelter, not linger in the neighborhood. TVCCA will continue to work to find funds that will help transport guests and keep them out of the cold and off slippery sidewalks. We don't have a bus, as it were. We don't have a means of getting them necessarily in a place to right now. But TVCCA is always working to try and help individuals in poverty, and this is something that we're going to get into and really try and take forward. TVCCA staff will be on site to take any action if disturbances arise. But of course, there's a little bit more when it comes to neighborhood impacts too that we want to address too. Slide. This includes loitering. If anybody in the neighborhood feels that loitering is occurring near their home, it is against city ordinance and neighbors have a right to enforce if they so choose. St. Mark's and TVCCA are grassroots Norwich-based community organizations. Our members are here, our board members are here, our clients are here. We are here to be open, communicative, talkative. I know some of you have had the opportunity to reach out to me online, and I've been able to relay both my cell phone number as well as my email address so that you can reach out and ask questions of TVCCA. We are going to continue to do that. As I mentioned, we're going to continue to open our doors to neighborhood events to make sure that you have the information that you need, but also just so that we continue to grow community in our neighborhood. That's what our organizations are all about, and one of the reasons why this is such a great approach. Yes, violating neighborhood expectations, we will make sure it's very clear to all those who are attending. It is not simply an expectation of what you do when you cross that threshold. It's an expectation of what you are doing and how you're presenting yourself as you're coming to the shelter and as you're leaving the shelter. So guests who are violating neighborhood expectations are also subject to. That is going to be part of the conversation. So in conclusion, I know I've gone on a little long. I hope I've addressed a lot of concerns. And I hope I've addressed some information that the zoning commission, or the commission on city planning is looking for strong, but some very extra as I leave you and turn things over to public comment questions. Over a quarter of all the homeless individuals that have been encountered in Norwich in 2026 thus far have been over the age of 50. Homelessness is severely impacting our senior residents. This is an epidemic, as I mentioned. We're talking about hundreds of individuals. This warming center is only going to hold a maximum of 58, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But there are many more out there who are continuing to be in need of our services. And we feel that this is the least we can do to try and help. Many guests have vehicles, they're not necessarily walking to or from the facility, and that is going to continue to lower the amount of traffic that's going here on our sidewalks. And lastly, I want to really note 58 is the maximum capacity for guests. It's not an average. The number that we saw as our baseline, of course, this past year was 16, because once we hit 16, they weren't allowed to come into the building. The maximum that we managed in total in the 2025-2026 winter, however, was 45, not 50. 45 is the absolute max. So that includes everybody who came into the shelter and those 16 individuals, as well as the individuals that we referred somewhere else and said, sorry, there's no room here. Please head on out. And we, of course, connected them with those services. But 45 in a single night is the greatest number of people. For anybody who's concerned about 58 people residing overnight on a single nightly basis at St. Mark's Lutheran Church, I can say with some authority, given our 2 years of data, that 58 is not a realistic number. We're happy to have the capacity in case it's severe enough that that's really needed and people are seeking shelter. But we're in a position right now where we believe that the average use, there were even nights this past winter when we didn't hit 16. We believe the average use is going to be probably somewhere between, realistically, 10 and 30. It's not necessarily going to be that near that 58. So we're in a great position to be able to provide services at the St. Mark's Lutheran Church site. We're in a terrific position to foster a partnership with St. Mark's Lutheran Church and really address a cause and hopefully continue to move individuals who are living in homelessness out of that homelessness category and out of poverty so that Norwich continues to be on cross. So I'm going to leave my comments there. I don't know if Pastor Heinrich has just a couple words to share as a co-applicant in this with us and as the current owner of the building.
I only have about probably 3.5 minutes. So I am Pastor Eric Heinrich, pastor at St. Mark Lutheran Church here in Norwich. I wrote this letter that I'm going to present to the leaders here. I'm writing today to ask for your support for the approval of a special permit for 248 Broadway. In 2022, God called me to be pastor at St. Mark Lutheran Church. I found a small but strong congregation. I found a building bursting with civic engagement, regular events of the Bully Busters youth program, AA meetings, grief support groups, and homeschooling education, just to name a few uses. I also found a community that regularly had food drives to support veterans and marginalized neighbors. I personally looked at our building and prayed and contemplated about how it can best serve our neighbors. It was easy to see a prominent ministry happening at 248 Broadway. One of the most obvious uses of the building, besides worship and Bible study, was a community meal offered every Sunday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. to anyone who comes. This community meal is a program that has been in place for decades and has been successful because of support from civic groups, faith groups, friendly neighbors, Boy Scouts, and the Norwich Area Interfaith Association. When a new pastor comes to a church, there's excitement and a time for self-study and discernment from the church community. When I got my call, the congregation prayerfully engaged discernment and we worked to identify our why. That is, why are we here? What is God calling us to do? When we asked the question, the answer was clear. We would determine that our why is to worship God and provide hospitality to our neighbors, particularly those that could use a helping hand. God has called us to offer hospitality. We didn't need to work hard to identify that because that is who we have always been. While TVCCA is expected to become the new owners of the building, their plan is an extension of our ministry. TVCCA is an organization that has worked to lend a helping hand since 1965, and St. Mark has been doing the same work since 1957. Before TVCCA made an offer to purchase 248 Broadway, I was in conversation with them to see if our building could offer hospitality and a shelter. St. Mark has always worked to be a good neighbor to those living directly in our neighborhood, and we do not want that to change. As long as I have been at the church, I have never heard from a neighbor that is bothered by our ministry. St. Mark has been directly involved with caring for our unhoused neighbors and does this as our religious calling. Last year, when the warming center closed on Sundays, many of the guests came to the church first thing in the morning. They were invited in at 8 a.m. for coffee, worship, fellowship, stayed for the community meal, and a pastor friend of mine and I kept the church open into the evening until the warming center opened. We have been functioning as a warming center already. Granting a special permit for a change of use for this property will demonstrate that Norwich is a place that is ready to move forward and provide additional care for the unhoused. I'm a little surprised that a special permit is needed because this is work of the church. In my understanding, the Federal Religious Land Use and Institutional Persons Act prevents government from interfering with religious practices. It's my understanding that this is what allowed our Roman Catholic neighbors to be able to relocate a feeding ministry in Norwich back in 2011. Our church follows the teachings of Jesus Christ. Jesus broke bread and offered healing and shelter to those that society labeled as outcasts. He challenged the wealthy and powerful, and because of that, he was killed. Jesus sacrificed himself on the cross for the forgiveness of sins. None of us are perfect, but if we work together to love one another, we can probably find a way to keep folks warm so no one dies in the cold. At this time, the only property that we know of that's available for a warming center is 248 Broadway, and winter will be here before we know it. Let's engage in meaningful conversation to find a way to care for our community and find the best location for our folks. I bid you peace.
Anything else, speaking on the application?
I'm not sure if, I'm not sure if our engineer or attorney online have any comments to add, but they are attending virtually.
So this is Tony Bolduc, the engineer for the applicant. I was just gonna leave it open for questioning. I don't want to hold up too much more time. I think you guys covered pretty much everything.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. I think that I'm attorney Nicole Byrne. I represent the Thames Valley Council for Community Action. I believe that the CEO, Josh Kelly, did an excellent presentation. I do hope that it answered a lot of the commission's questions this evening. If there are any additional questions, we're happy to address them. Moving forward, I just had a couple comments. In my opinion, this application does not seek for a fundamentally different use of the property. The property is currently used for philanthropic uses, to provide meals to the unhoused. Additionally, it's used for church offices and religious activities. This application before you concerns the continuation of services at a location where substantially similar activities have already been reviewed and approved through this special permit process. The principal change here is not the use of the property, but the entity providing funding and services. The services will now be administered by the TVCCA in partnership with the church and other community organizations. As the commission is aware, zoning regulates land use, not the identity of the user. So accordingly, I would respectfully request that this application be evaluated solely under the applicable special permit standards and the evidence contained in the record tonight. If those standards are satisfied, I believe that, as I believe they have been, this application should be approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? open, public, event. There's no that, we have other people that signed up already. I'm going to ask, people who are speaking in favor of the application to come first. So I'm going to read the name, first name here, and see if we're speaking in favor of the application. So you can come up and speak now, if you're going to be positioned, until all those in favor have spoken. So, first name on the list here is Dale Plummer. Dale, are you speaking in favor of the application? Come on down. Okay, thank you. 25 Broadway, apartment 201. Which is the formerly Oregon Hotel. I've lived there for 21 years, since 2005. The laundry mat is self-service, it's not. First floor, is closed from 11 to 6. The doors locked and 6 residents are able to use the one. Period. But I have found a lot of information between my laundry room. It's not. There's a discount between the also the laundry and so forth. And I've often encountered people in the weekends, homeless people, sleeping under the golden babies. I have to say, although it's clean generally, well lighted, which is not very conducive to sleeping. So then there are no resident facilities, but generally speaking, visuals and sometimes help things. The other the open tables and drawing up stools, check them in children, nothing else. You have ever had with daily schools. Well, it's massively, was sleeping. It's fully tile floors, and it's not. Then the one that opens at 6 with the players. Generally, these folks we I've never felt threatened. I live right upstairs, second floor. And I have to say, it's disturbing that we have this situation, so we do need to live these conditions, so that we do offer services to folks. And the only problem I ever had was when I was waiting for my clothes to dry about 2 million, couple of groceries. Gives me a few moments. And then ask them where can I do. Anyways, I think people are afraid of the unknown. I think that this is not. This is going to be a situation that works out well for the urgent. Next name on the list is David Daniels.
I'm for the, again, I'm for the other side.
Okay, so we're going to come back to you. Next, like Annabelle, you can read the last name. Ready? Rivoli.
I'm again.
Okay, back to you. John Richards.
Yeah, I'm against.
Randall Toes.
Those.
Nathaniel
Sir,
Surf.
I'm against.
Okay. Victoria Watson.
I'm against.
William Dengel.
I'm against.
Dawn Sillers.
Against.
Brian Morrison.
Against.
Judith Hershey. Okay, Judith. Just remember, we're trying to limit 3 minutes per person. Okay, Judith.
Good evening. My name is Judith Hersey. And when you look at me, would you say I'm homeless? I am. I've been homeless for almost a year. Actually, a year. And I've been in income.
Could we turn up the volume? Yeah. Thank you.
Only close to your mouth. Only close to your mouth. And I've been drinking my car for a year. It's been difficult, but I've had the soup kitchen at home. I fought with Jillian, the soup kitchen, when they fought to keep it. My mother did 15 years in the soup kitchen. And I did 146 hours. I had a living house that kept me from being homeless. At that time, I got my apartment when almost it was 7 years total that I was homeless before I got an apartment. I had that apartment for 9 years. And then there's millionaires that are buying in the city of Norwich houses that are going into taxes on this money.
Judith, my apologies for interrupting for the record during basic time. It's just difficult for the commissioners to hear your comments when you're facing away from them.
I'm so sorry.
No, not an issue.
I want to be able to address everybody, I'm sorry. But I want to let everybody know, and I have 3 minutes to do so I'm trying to get everything in. So that they understand that I'm just not just standing here. We have a shelter. It is needed. I've lived out there. I've seen people die. This is important. It's not something that can be pushed away. You can avoid people on the streets that are begging for money that I see everywhere. Lived here since the 70s. Never happened. So, as I said, you would know me unless I told you. So, I helped Jill fight for the soup kitchen and she got it. It's long fun. She got it. Taxpayers get worried about what if. I've seen the shelter. My brother's been in there, but I can't go there because that varies. The shelter, when you leave in the morning, it is dark. And they leave all day to leave up the road, and most of them head to this soup kitchen, as it's the other place to stay on. This place will probably be the same, and the rules will be the same. If you have some place to go besides being on the street, right around line, they're not going to, mess that up. They're not going to make it someplace that would be horrible. You know what I'm saying? People gotta understand that it's a place to survive. And improvement, TVCCA is wonderful, taking over, as before that, it was the resources. Because they paid about $80,000 they took to take care of that 1 year, and then they shut it down. And now they reopened it just briefly. We need this, and whatever else services that come along with it. They've already been in place. It's just the way it is. And it's the scary thing. I think it's. Thank you.
Next name on this, Isaiah Overton.
Here for the prediction.
Sorry?
I'm here for the decision. We'll figure that.
Okay. Anita Andrews. Aaron Staples.
It's the location of the.
Cornelia Hahn.
Opposed.
You're in opposition?
Against.
Bill Ivers. For. Bill.
Good evening.
My name is Bill Ibers. I am the representative of Norwich on the TVCCA board. I have been on the city council, and before that, I worked for the city of Norwich. One of my assignments for the city of Norwich was to find the homeless. This was about 35 years ago. At that time, my report said there weren't that many homeless, but there were people in not so good housing. It's changed a lot since then. It's changed a lot. The homeless problem has gotten a lot worse in 35 years. It's to the point where we need a warming shelter. We need it bigger. There's a lot more to say. I would like to extend a hand to the folks who are opposed to this and say, let's work this out. TVCCA has been here for a long time and they know how to do this. There has been clearly some opposition to folks who are afraid of the people in the shelter. That's a legitimate concern. But I think TVCCA has been around for a long enough time that we can deal with it. And I will extend my hand to those folks who are against it and say, let's work together. Thank you. Thank you. What's the name on the list? I'm opposed. Steve. What's the number? I'm opposed. Man Filbert.
So, I already spoke on this.
Lisa Morrison. Reverend David Horst. In favor.
Good evening, members of the commission. My name is the Reverend David Horst. My family and I live on Joseph Perkins Road, Norwich, in the St. Mark neighborhood. I am the manager of outreach and engagement at the New London Homeless Hospitality Center and a member of Norwich Area Interfaith Association, which has just launched its Love Lives Here campaign. One Norwich, many stories, one community. And I present my remarks in that spirit. I speak in support and solidarity with our homeless citizens of Norwich and our surrounding communities. And I ask the commission and all good and decent people of Norwich, I ask this question: are not our homeless neighbors worthy of a warm place to sleep on long, cold winter nights? Are not our homeless citizens worthy of our compassion? Are not our homeless citizens worthy of our forbearance? Are not our homeless citizens worthy of our caring and our love? I urge the commission to approve this special permit for a 58-bed winter shelter at 248 Broadway. And one more thing. As I live in the neighborhood of the proposed shelter, I say yes in my neighborhood. Thank you.
Is Sandra Widow? Jim Porter here, Sandra too.
My name is Sandy Bordeaux, and I live at 25 Elgin Avenue,
which is one street over from Broad. I did reside for 30 years with my husband and children in the backyard of St. Mark Church. So I know full well what goes on there. I'm also a member. I just want to speak briefly about the community luncheon. Which is now served every Sunday at St. Mark and has been going on for over 30 years. I know this from experience since I was the board leader for 16 years. And in that experience, helping at the luncheon, I have never, or we have never, at St. Mark, had a guest cause a problem or go to a neighbor's house or yard. They stay in the church or right outside by the door. We've never had problems with our guests. I would also like to say that St. Mark Church is a very valuable resource and does help folks in need. We've had many drives for food, toiletries, clothing, diapers, you name it. Our parishioners are generous, caring for this entire community. Please grant the change of use permit so that we can work together to serve our entire community. Also, you might want to ask individuals opposed to this if they live in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Steve.
Good evening, James Porter. Reside at 25 Allen Avenue in Norwich, about people St. Mark. My wife and I have been long-time members of the church. I'd like to point out the progress that's happened in Norwich in the last 4 years, 5 years. Thanks to the planning department and the NCDC and our officials. There's been an awful lot of positive progress in Norwich, long overdue. Well, one thing that comes with progress is our responsibility. We have a distinct responsibility to homeless and any other, well, let's say unprivileged citizen. This is a wonderful country. Many of us are doing pretty well. Awful lot of people doing too well. And the simple task here is to partner up with TVCCA, already proven a resource for this area. And for St. Mark, partner with them, bring a little bit of warmth to some people in the winter. We only want to have them there. It's not that being benefit here, cold nights, but this is what we're going to try to promote. Let's get people out of the cold into at least a warm shelter. I think anybody's going to be impacted. Like my wife mentioned, we lived 30 years. I was with the beautiful house right behind St. Mark. And all those years, all the different services that St. Mark never had an issue with anybody walking through our yards or any of us in the neighborhood. No complaints at all. I don't think you'll have any complaints with this shelter. The shelter going in. So please open your hearts. Anybody that thinks that it's a negative, please open your hearts and minds to what TVCCA and St. Mark is trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Theodore?
For
Name is Linda Theodore. I live in 37 Tappa Road, where I've been for 31 years now. In Occam, we have a homeless population. I have seen them sleeping in the woods. I see the shelters when I walk my dogs. They live in their cars in the parking lot under the overpass. And they walk back and forth in front of my house. They have never bothered. As a matter of fact, I once hired one to help me with some yard work. And when I paid him, I also gave him some bottles of water to take with him. He was very grateful. And I'm just saying that they are not there to bother you. They are homeless, not because they want to bother you. It's usually because of something that they do not have any control of. Thank you.
Lynn Weeks.
Good evening. My name's Helen Weeks. I'm a resident of Jewett City, but I am a member of St. Mark Evangelical Lutheran Church. I'm also an active participant in the Norwich Community Meal. I'm the scheduler for the community meal and the church member that supervises the meals along with 2 others in the church. I recently became aware of the concerns of the immediate neighbors to the church, citing concerns regarding the overnight shelter, mainly a concern for their safety and the safety of others, adults and children as they walk to school or religious services, or while walking their pets. And I would like to make the people of the neighborhood aware of the story of a young man who was my grandson. He started to help at the community meal at the age of 6. As part of the mission statement for the community meal, it's to build community, 1 meal at a time. He started out helping on the serving line, usually offering bread, butter, maybe the desserts, easy chores for a 6-year-old. Part of the experience of the community meal was to build the community connections with the people we serve. Each time he helped, he would also have a meal and sit with the guests and chat. He enjoyed it very much. He always enjoys meeting and chatting with people. On one winter day, he was in a parade in the city of Norwich. He saw a man that was a regular at the lunch, and he waved at him. And he was so thrilled when the man waved back. Over the years, he grew older. He continued helping with the community meal. And now, as a young adult, he plans, does the shopping, prepares, which means, yes, he cooks the meal, and serves the meal. And the people he serves are very grateful for his efforts. Gratitude is one emotion given very generously by our guests. We are serving meals every week, and by doing so, we are giving relief from the anxiety of going without a meal. An overnight shelter will give the same people we serve meals to a bit of security to know that they have a warm, safe place to sleep. Being safe is a very basic need. I have witnessed the behavior of a young man, my son, that was homeless for a short time, and how he had become nervous and hyper aware of his surroundings, suspicious. The overnight shelter would be thought of as an asset to the city, and whether or not a neighbor has direct interaction with someone who needs or uses the shelter, the people that are served will be most grateful. Of that, I am certain. I thank you for your time.
Marcia Schultz.
Scott Schultz. I'm a lifelong resident of Norwich. My family has been here for generations. It's home. I'm speaking this evening in favor of petition. Most of my remarks were already covered, so I'll keep it short. I think that TVCCA has proven its reliability and its integrity in the 6+ years that it's been here. I think we can trust them to know what they're doing and to do it well, to do it reliably. Not only are they a federal designated agency, but they've been a good neighbor to Norwich for 60+ years. Annually, they benefit over 25,000 people in Eastern Connecticut. Those are our neighbors. Whether or not they have a house, if they're here, they're our neighbors, and they deserve our consideration. Already, Judge Kelly has gone over some of the things that I wanted to say, so I'll just skip ahead. I do want to say that they've been very transparent in this whole process, and I think that deserves acknowledgement. They haven't in any way attempted to skirt state or municipal regulations. They're here because they want to work with us and abide by the rules. They mailed notices in a timely manner to all the neighbors of the site, informing them of the proposal and of this hearing this evening. They've engaged with both the day and the bulletin, both of which I read, to get the information circulated widely. They've gone through all the proper channels. And I don't know what else we could ask of them. They've already are meeting or exceeding state regulations regarding staff and ratios. They're committed to that. The people who are in the shelter will never be unattended. There will always be professionals on site to make sure that things go according to plan. They've already fixed, they've already established that they're going to have fixed, predictable, and reversible hours, which are pretty limited. If you think about how cold it is in the wintertime, it's a bare minimum of charity that they're asking of us, a bare minimum of humanity that they're asking of us when it comes to our most vulnerable neighbors. I don't think what they're asking is excessive. I don't think what they're proposing is extravagant in the least. They've already talked a lot about the fact that several people just in our area died last year due to cold exposure. Now, I've never had to spend a night outside in the cold, but I have gone hiking in the mountains. We've gotten cold exposure. I've got frostbite, and let me tell you, that's a unique form of pain, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I can't imagine the suffering that is entailed with dying cold exposure. Now, I'm also a friend to some of the members of the St. Mark's community, and that's another part of this that I think is important to remember. The St. Mark's community has been a long-standing asset to the city of Norwich. It provides a faith community to many. It provides services to our most needy members. And without this arrangement, they would have been facing having lost their long-standing home. I don't think that's the kind of community we want to be, where we ask both the faith community and our most vulnerable members, our most vulnerable neighbors, to face homelessness together because we're too concerned about our own self-interest. It's not the kind of community I want. And I love Norwich. And it's not just St. Mark's faith community and our homeless neighbors would benefit. Boybusters is here this evening. They're a wonderful organization that helps our youth. They use this building and they'll be able to continue to do so. And there are other faith groups that also use this space, that will be continuing to use the space. So remember that a whole network of communities of people who are part of the fabric of Norwich will benefit from this collaborative endeavor. It's a win-win situation, in my view. I think it's a way for us to build the compassionate community that we all desire to live. And that we all one day might need. I used to work and volunteer at a domestic violence center. The people there were technically homeless. And their only crime was loving someone who betrayed them. I think we need to reject demonizing and reviewing the poor and instead stand in solidarity with the less fortunate and look out for each other. Love is always greater than self-interest and selfishness and indifference to the suffering of others. And the last thing I would say is, please remember this. This is about preventing our neighbors from freezing to death. That's a basic ask. And I don't think it's extravagant or excessive. And I'm proud to stand here this evening in favor of it. And I also have a letter in support that I don't know if it's. I don't think it's a minute now. Thank you so much.
You. In favor.
Good evening, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here tonight. My name is Joseph Churdy. I am council president at St. Mark Lutheran Church. St. Mark opened at 248 Broadway in 1957. Since that time, it's been an excellent neighbor to everyone who lives in that neighborhood. I started worshiping in the church at age 16, 1967. Since then, St. Mark has always ministered to all, including, excluding none, including unhoused, underserved, and marginalized people. Jesus told his disciples to love one another as I have loved you. We at St. Mark take that commandment to heart. And our neighbors include all people. Our ministries have fed, clothed, and provided other services for unhoused citizens for years. Our request for a warming center for those unhoused citizens is just a logical extension of these ministries that have been happening in that church for years. Please see in your heart to approve our request to provide a place for these unhoused people to come in out of the cold. Thank you.
Dean and Andre Katomsky are speaking together. Dean and Andre Katomsky. Steve Mulholland.
Hi, my name is Cassie. I live on Safety Street. If you live in the neighborhood, you probably see me around, walking when the weather is nice. Sometimes we pick up trash, sometimes we just enjoy the sunshine. And I am very much in favor of this. So I think all of you guys who are here and you are opposed to this, all of your arguments are leaving issues, shame to yourselves. If you think it's because it's next to a school, shame on you. These high schoolers are going out into the world very soon without you to shield them from what you deem to be undesirable. We are not doing our children any favors by teaching them to fear people that they don't know and that they deem less fortunate. Honestly, I'd be more worried, sorry. I'd be more worried about the high schoolers asking homeless folks than the other way around. Because like these people just kind of want to live their lives. And teenagers are known for doing dumb stuff. We've all done it, even the nicest teenagers are gonna be doing dumb things. And I mean, they're performing for social media and they're trying to impress their friends. They all do it. I think that if we're worried about our property values going down, shame on you. People are dying, okay? Who are you to determine that your property value is worth more than a human life? Seriously. If you are here and you are opposing this, and you call yourself a Christian, double shame on you. Okay? Jesus hung out with prostitutes, tax collectors, beggars, lepers. He didn't ask for anybody's permission. He just loved on them. And that was his whole thing. When is the last time you followed Jesus' example and willingly spent time with the less fortunate in our neighborhood? When's the last time you asked their names, stopped to chat with them, asked for their stories, gave them a sandwich? Maybe instead of giving into our knee-jerk reactions, we should be putting the Christ back in a Christian. I honestly think a lot of these people are angry at the wrong things though. I mean, we should be angry at the zoning regulations that have made it impossible for the unhoused to be sheltered downtown near the services. I think we should be angry at the woefully inadequate public transportation system that makes it so we can't shuttle them from the industrial park to downtown feasibly so they can access these services that will help them to stop being homeless. I think we should be angry at the other towns who are dumping their people onto us and making it our problem. I think we should be angry at the skyrocketing costs of living that we've forced a lot of these people out of their homes and onto the streets. I think we should be angry at the city and the people for putting the structures in place that landed us into the position, and not at the people who are trying to help.
Alicia Adams.
Hi, good evening. My name is Felicia Adams. I live at 213 West Town Street here in Norwich. And I am here on behalf of the Norwich branch NAACP, who wishes to take a neutral position on this issue at this time. So we're writing to offer feedback regarding TVCCA's application for a special permit to operate an emergency overnight rental shelter on Broadway. We recognize that this proposal comes before the Commission in a context where there is a range of perspectives within the community. We offer the following considerations to support a comprehensive and equitable review. We encourage the Commission to consider this proposal within the broader regional context. Norwich is one of a limited number of municipalities that already host a significant share of social services infrastructure. As a result, Norwich, New London, and Wyndham experience cumulative impacts associated with these issues. Careful attention to the concentration of services and their broader distribution across the region can help inform a balanced evaluation of this application. We encourage the Commission to consider how the proposed shelter will function on a day-to-day basis. Emergency shelters play an important role in providing immediate safety. However, their effectiveness depends on adequate and consistent staffing, supervision, and coordination with service providers. Attention to staffing levels, case management capacity, and interagency collaboration can support safe and effective operations. We encourage the Commission to consider how the shelter will integrate with the surrounding neighborhood. Clearly defined operational practices such as hours of operation, intake procedures, communication with local stakeholders, and coordination with municipal services can help mitigate potential impacts and foster a positive relationship with the community. And encourage consideration of how the shelter will support the health, safety, and dignity of its guests. Access to basic amenities such as showers and laundry, along with transportation to regional service providers, can improve individual outcomes and facilitate coordination of care across the broader service network. We encourage the Commission to consider the extent to which the shelter model incorporates housing-focused strategies. While access to shelter is a critical first step, long-term stability depends on connecting individuals to pathways toward a permanent home and supportive services. Clear planning in this area can strengthen outcomes for both shelter guests and the community. We appreciate the Commission's careful consideration of these factors as part of its review.
Opposed? Please, the council. Opposed? Is there anybody online who wants to speak in favor of the application? Raise your hand, please. Anybody? Nobody showing up. So, sorry?
I think it's a sign up.
Do you want to speak in favor? No, state your name and address, please.
My name is Russell Wallace. Russell, R-A-Z-U-L. I live at 21 Huntington Place, maybe a quarter mile from St. Mark's. I've been a resident of Norwich for about 20 years now. And I just wanted to say, I've been living here 20 years and I was seeing homeless around the neighborhood. They never bothered me one bit. I don't quite understand what the objections might be. I'm like a little bit booby, so I gotta get pretty, so I won't be able to hear what they will be. But it just doesn't make sense to me. Even if it was a mild inconvenience, denying like a basic bed to someone to prevent them from freezing. You know, I just don't get it, but I just really want to speak in favor of it, in support of it. Because you know, some people are born into a less fortunate world. Some people are born into a more fortunate world. And then everything that happens in between, for whatever reason, they end up in bad positions. And I think as a community full of individuals, we should care and not just, you know, turn a blind eye to, you know, them freezing. I don't know if anyone have ever had to be outside in the freezing cold overnight for any reason, but that is miserable. You know, maybe your property value doesn't go as much as it could, or, you know, you have to cross someone that maybe has to pay, you might smell. I really just don't understand it myself, but I just wanted to give a resounding support for it.
Somebody else who hasn't signed up who wants to speak in favor? More. If anyone wants to speak in favor, come up and stand in line.
My name is
And remember, we're trying to keep it to 3 minutes.
and I've lived in Norwich since approximately 1993. My name is Carol Clammer. I've lived in Norwich since approximately 1993, which is longer than I've lived anywhere else in my life. And I sometimes sweat my bills. Fortunately, I count myself as somebody who will, you know, pull it together. most likely never need these services, but I'm very gratified and pleased and proud these services are available for people who haven't been as fortunate as I have. There is a safety net, should I or any of us ever need it, and I'm extremely proud to be a member of a community that has generated and developed the services and the agencies and the compassionate concerns. I encourage that we address the concerns of those who are opposed and resolve them well, and to satisfaction of those who don't feel comfortable about this. But it is a humane and compassionate thing to do, and I think it's what we should do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You didn't mind writing your name down.
Yeah, we're gonna get to stand over here just to be able to see the group. You okay with that? If I was just to stand over here so I could see the group as I speak as well as you guys. My name is Brandon Savag, and I just wanted to start my comments tonight with the number 197.
Brandon, excuse me, could you spell your last name?
Absolutely. It's S as in Sam, A as in apple, B as in boy, B as in boy, A as in apple, G as in girl. I might lose some friends over what I'm about to say, but again, my name is Brandon Savag. 197 is the number of people in the 169 towns in the state of Connecticut that lost their lives while experiencing homelessness last year. I'm going to use my 2 minutes and 58 seconds to tell a short story. For anonymity, we'll use the name John for this individual. John grew up in an upper middle class family. He grew up north of Boston in Massachusetts. His grandfather was an engineer that designed the Patriot missile that our military uses. His father was a foreman at a big company. His mother was a business owner, real estate entrepreneur. At 24 years old, John found himself homeless. John wasn't addicted to alcohol. He wasn't addicted to drugs. Questionable, some people might say he had some mental health issues. John ended up in Norwich, Connecticut. John spent a night under the gazebo at our marina, where he slept until the police woke him up in the morning. He spent a night in a tree across from the Raven gas station in New London, where he hugged it, and that was, I guess, his comfort for that particular evening. After about 6 months of experiencing that homelessness, 12 years ago, the TVCCA, through their rapid rehousing program, was able to provide funds to this individual that helped him get his first start. I got into a place with a family from a great church. He actually grew up Lutheran too, by the way, for the ELCA folks in the room. And what ended up happening is John ended up getting a job landscaping, moved on to Outback Steakhouse. I'm John. Today, as a former homeless resident of New London County, I own multiple businesses. I own multiple properties. I now house 14 people in the area. I had the opportunity to give the talk this year at the Walk to End Homelessness in New London to share this same story. Like you guys, I care about my property values. I care about the safety of myself and my family. And certainly, I understand the concerns of the other side. And many of the people that are on the other side are my friends and people that support me in endeavors that I'm now in today. But I'm not here about politics. I'm here about people. Because as people that are our neighbors and friends, that in the third most unaffordable state to live in, the state of Connecticut, need our help. They're going to be in our towns and cities, whether they have a place to sleep or not. I strongly urge this commission and everybody in this room to talk to somebody, whether it's me or one of the other people that spoke in support, to understand why we're here, saying what we're saying. And I hope and I pray that there'll be a shelter that will house people here in the city of Norwich. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Deb Kivitz. I'm the director of the Norwich Gold Investors. We're going on 25 years in the city of Norwich as of last month. One of the original partners at that table when we got started, around a major incidents of bullying here in the city of Norwich, was TVCCA. They were one of our founding partners and they still are to this day. And we are a member, we're part of St. Mark's. They have opened their doors to our youth for the last 8 years, so we can provide free after school programs and summer camp programs for youth at risk. Free at no cost, and that's part of their ministry. They've opened the doors to kids that most people would say no to. There's never been an incident. Our kids are out there cleaning the streets, giving back to the community, because they know one thing, kindness is magical, and they show that. And TVCCA is doing what I had hoped the city of Norwich would do with this building, buying it and making it a multi-use building, when all of us get to stay and give back to the community. And that's what it's about. And it's a magical, I understand some of the concerns, but like I said, let's all work together. That's what we should be doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Madeline Gustafson. I'm a resident of Norwich and I grew up here as well. I live on Yantic Street, which is very, very close to St. Mark's. I pass it when I walk typically, when I walk up past Senate Bay and around. And the reason I'm here tonight is not because I'm a member of TVCCA or because I'm a member of St. Mark's, it's because I pride myself on being a good community member. And I had members of this community twice come up to my door and ask me to come and speak in opposition of a movement that would help to shelter other community members in this city. Now, as someone who lives very close to St. Mark's, one of the things that I was told I should be worried about was that this facility would attract homeless people. They are already here. They are living in the woods at the end of Yantic Street in tents. So I apologize if you don't want to see them, but they're here. And as someone who has benefited from TVCCA, as someone who's lived at the poverty level and eaten from a soup kitchen, I really urge you all to consider the type of community you would like to live in. And if it's not going to be you that makes it that way, who's going to do it? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Diane Holdsworth. I live at 34 Summer Street and in Norwich for 35 years. I was going to say the exact same thing that the young lady before me said. It's just, what kind of a community do we gonna be? Do we want to look the other way because we might have an issue, might have a little issue, or we might be inconvenienced, or we might be uncomfortable. But we're gonna let people die and freeze to death because we don't want to be inconvenienced or upset by having to see somebody pass by that we don't think looks the way we want people in our neighborhood to look. I want to be proud of this city. I am proud of TVCCA. I am really proud of St. Mark's, where I have many people I love and worked briefly, building on summer vacations in their office. Good people who are trying to love other people who need help. We just need some kindness. And I know it can be scary. I don't fault people for being afraid, but is it realistic? And is it worth letting people die over? And that's all I have to say.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah St. George. This is my first time attending one of these meetings, never mind speaking. I did not intend to speak tonight, but I'm so moved by all of you who have spoken, even people that I haven't agreed with. So a lot of the opposition I've seen to this online is concern for NFA students. So I want to speak as the parent of an NFA student. My daughter was a freshman this year and her and her friends do wander around that neighborhood after school. They've all encountered the unhoused population. They have never been harassed or bothered by them in any way. They have a lot of compassion for them and they would like to see us as a city do better for them. I would also like to speak about how I was almost homeless myself. That's actually how I ended up in Norwich. I'm a single parent and I ended up a single parent because The father of my children did something really bad and he ended up in jail. So myself and my daughter, we've known some very, very hard and painful things. So I've always worked full-time. I work with kids with special needs. I've never gotten food stamps. I've never taken anything for free or anything that I could get as a single mom. And when my mom had a stroke, the landlord didn't want to rent to me as a single mom. And with rents being, you know, you can't get a 2-bedroom apartment anywhere in the state for like under $1,500. And as a single mom working full-time, that was unmanageable for me. So if I didn't find my mobile home in Norwich, which is not perfect, I would be homeless. And every day I work very, very hard to maintain what I have and what little I can provide for my children. So I know how easy it is. They are not all drug addicts. Most of them are not homeless by choice. And we can keep them alive. Some other opposition I saw online is they might be sex offenders. Anybody might be a sex offender, your priest, your neighbor. We can't, might is hypothetical. We cannot live in fear. We have an opportunity to choose love. We have an opportunity to save lives. So let's not let our prejudices and stereotypes stand in our way of that. Thank you. I wrote a letter. Should I give it to you guys now? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
We'll just bring it up for Pete.
Okay.
My name is Logan Gustafson. I live on Antic Street.
Can you say your name again, please?
Logan Gustafson.
Logan.
I have been fortunate enough to not be homeless, but I have known friends growing up. Unfortunately, did become homeless. No fault of his. It was unfortunately his upbringing, and this was through high school. And this facility is near NFA. I understand this facility before 18 and older. He was 17 at the time. 18, then he became 18. There was no support from the school, no support from the community. He couldn't get to school. He ended up having to drop out because he had zero support whatsoever from the town, from the people that were supposed to be his neighbors. And there's been a lot of talk of 60-year-olds was the main age of homelessness in town. But we also have to think about the people that are at the 18-year-old point where they need the support becoming homeless. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Beryl Fishbone. I live on Bliss Place. And I'm going to say a few things that are going to make people a little uncomfortable, and hopefully they'll get over it. But you really need to. I got to tell you. One of the things that a warming center provides, that even they may not realize what they're providing, it's a warm place to go pee. And sometimes that's just such a comfort. I don't know if anybody else is, well, I'm 70, so there we go. One of the first things I have to do when I check whether it's I'm going into a restaurant, I'm going into a store, is I need to know where the closest bathroom is. And when you're living outside, that's not always the most convenient place. And trees don't do the job, and people get upset when you have to go on the other side so that you're not on the road. So you have to wind up on somebody's lawn. That doesn't work, folks. So, I mean, that's a plus on having a warming center. You're providing somebody a place to take care of a necessary item of life. The other thing is, have you ever been outside for any prolonged period of time? You had to shovel the snow. Maybe you went skiing. People do that. They go skiing on purpose, outside. I don't quite get it, but okay. You know, people do strange things. But then at the end, when they're tired of skiing,
and floating around on the snow onto pieces of wood or plexiglass or whatever it is that they're using these days. They know that they're gonna go into someplace that's warm and safe and dry. And when you're out shoveling snow, what do you dream about? Do you dream about, oh, I can't wait to build that little fort so that when it stops snowing, I'll have someplace out of the wind? No, you think about going inside and having a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, or a hot cocoa. That's what you're thinking about. And why on earth would you deny somebody that little bit of peace and joy by denying them a warming center, a place where that's what they can get, a place where they can sit down, not in something cold and wet, but on something dry. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And I promised I wouldn't be too long and that I would talk about things that were, well, a little uncomfortable, but not really bad. So thank you all.
Is anybody else in the audience who wants to speak in favor of this point? Okay, in that case, we'll go on to those who speak in opposition. Go back to the top of the list here, David Daniels.
Hey, hello, everybody. My name is David Daniels. I actually live next door on 42 Broadway. Fellow commissioners, good evening.
David, would you use the microphone, please?
Oh, of course. Thank you. God, it must be using one of these things. So my name is David Daniels, and I live immediately adjacent to proposed site on 248. I want to be making it quite clear that I'm not opposed to helping people who are homeless, and neither are anybody on our side, absolutely whatsoever. So I just felt a little uneasy when people judge. In fact, I don't like to judge either. Anyways, I want to begin by making it quite clear. Oh, my concern is whether the particular proposal at this particular location is compatible and appropriate for the surrounding neighborhood. Now, this project is often described as a warming center, but what's being proposed is a facility approximately 60 beds, operating through much of the cold winter season. Many residents understand it that it will only not serve water-rich residents, but individuals from communities across southeastern Connecticut. That distinction matters. The question before the commission is not whether people deserve help. The question should be whether a regional shelter of this scale belongs in the middle of a residential neighborhood surrounded by homes, families, churches, schools. As a neighborhood property owner, I have experienced the impacts of a feeding place here at St. Mark's that have concerned me. Over the years, I had many items stolen from my property. And I can't say for certain it was anybody from the transient people going back and forth to the homeless getting meals. However, I've also encountered individuals inside my apartment building looking for the police next door, seeking food, lodging, or something else. On an occasion, I discovered a man in my basement for several days before I was able to find him and force him to leave. I also experienced a woman trying to break into my home. Police believed that she was under drugs. I can still remember her saying to me, "You don't look like Jesus." Anyways, I share these experiences not to condemn anybody, but to illustrate the concerns being raised by neighbors that are based on real events, not assumptions. There's also the important question that remains unanswered. What happens when somebody arrives at it? What happens when this shelter is full and when one person is turned away in the middle of the night in freezing weather? These individuals will be still in this neighborhood seeking more transportation and assistance. And these foreseeable operational realities that deserve clear answers before this gets approved at all. My neighbors, including families and children, are scared for the safety of their children. Many of them feel that they weren't adequately informed and that their concerns are not fully addressed. I respect to ask this commission to carefully consider whether or not a large regional shelter is an appropriate land use in this residential area, whether a more suitable location exists. Helping people in need and protecting residential neighborhoods are not mutually exclusive goals, but we can do both. For these reasons, I respectfully ask you to deny this application and require a more appropriate location before moving forward. Thank you for your time and consideration. And actually, if I had more than 3 minutes, I could probably talk for a lot more. I'm a member of the on and on and on and on, people who stand up and talk for themselves. I will get over. Thank you.
Annabelle, raise your right hand. The board.
Hi, my name is Annabelle Rowley. I live at 270 Broadway. I spent a year and a half as a homeless person in New York City. I have not been in since this role of the other homeless. Exactly the opposite. And however, against this proposal, I do not feel that any part of the TVCCA proposal will adequately address the actual real world needs of the unhappiness I experienced personally. I will be submitting a letter in more detail, addressing my specific and detailed concerns. I thank you in advance for taking concerns into account.
Sean Richards. Sean?
Yeah, thank you. Great. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Sean Copper Richards. I'm an abutting property owner at 241 Broadway and president of the Broadway Residents Association. I'm here to voice our opposition to the special permit application being forwarded by TVCCA. Our specific concerns regarding stopping, security, and the lack of enforceable operational standards are fully detailed in the upcoming public hearing notice document that I submitted to you tonight. That's Exhibit A. This document has been widely distributed in our community, and TVCCA CEO Josh Kelly has already reviewed and publicly commented on it. Tonight, I want to address a core issue, the applicant's consistency and credibility. Our neighborhood notice was based entirely on his June 10 filing, quoting his language directly. Despite this, Mr. Kelly publicly characterized these direct quotes as misinformation and dismissed our notice as the work of an anonymous letter writer. This is inaccurate. The notice was clearly issued by the Broadway Residents Association, and I have previously submitted signed community correspondence containing my name and address. This disconnect matters deeply for your review. Special permit approval relies on the Commission's ability to translate an applicant's representations into firm and enforceable zoning conditions. When an applicant publicly mischaracterizes their own written submission
It creates extreme uncertainty about how their commitments will be managed over time and calls into question the reliability of the application itself. Additionally, I must flag a serious due process concern regarding the statutory notice process. The certified mail notice for the May 12th hearing was addressed only to my husband and arrived on a Saturday, the 9th, just 2 business days before the scheduled hearing. Ultimately, your responsibility is to evaluate whether this application provides a clear, reliable, and enforceable framework suitable for a residential neighborhood. Because the applicant's public representations do not match their written text, the standard has not been met. I respectfully ask the Commission to deny this application. Thank you for your consideration.
Randall's Tools.
Oh, that's my husband and he's feeling unwell. Could I read his statement?
Sure.
Okay. So, this is Randall's statement, and he lives at 241 Broadway with me. With all due respect, to the individuals and local residents arguing in favor of this application, none of the moral and political arguments they're making, however persuasive, are in fact relevant to the question before this commission. Namely, whether or not the application to convert the Memorial Hall of St. Mark's Church into a high-density, low-barrier, seasonal overnight homeless shelter is in accordance with Norwich zoning regulations and meets the explicit criteria for granting of a special permit. I must also question why TVCCA is being given yet another deferral when they already failed to submit legally mandated site plans and other required reports and documents before the original scheduled meeting in May. According to section 7.7.32 of the Norwich zoning regulations, an incomplete special permit application may be denied in accordance with section 7.11.3. It is hardly fair for those of us who live in the vicinity of 248 Broadway, and who will be most directly affected by this radical change in land use, that the process for approving or denying a special permit be dragged out because the applicant is unable to satisfy the application requirements in a timely manner. The fact that the applicant is struggling to complete the application is also an indication that the proposal is fundamentally flawed. In yesterday's article about the shelter plan by Matt Brand, dated June 14th in the Norwich Bulletin, TVCCA CEO Josh Kelly is quoted as saying that this is not the first choice for the building we took a look at as a cold weather shelter, but strict zoning regulations in Norwich and the need to remain close to downtown makes St. Mark's the best option. In response to this, I asked, why do Norwich's strict zoning regulations prevent this proposed shelter from opening in other buildings in other parts of town, such as a commercial area that's an appropriate distance from schools, homes, and children's yards and play areas? Yet it's somehow okay to run roughshod over the regulations meant to protect the character, integrity, property values, and quiet enjoyment of our much beloved residential neighborhood. Most crucially, in the same article, Mr. Kelly is also on record as having acknowledged that TVCCA is aware that the shelter would change the character of the neighborhood. According to special permit criteria 2 of the Norwich zoning regulations, the nature and intensity of the operations conducted in connection with the use must be such that the use will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development in the district in which it is located. Any potential land use that would change the character of a neighborhood is clearly not in harmony with that neighborhood or its orderly development. Therefore, Mr. Kelly has publicly admitted that his proposal violates the very criteria that must by law be met in order to merit the granting of a special permit. I commend Mr. Kelly for his honesty in making this critical admission. However, he is merely stating what all of us who live in Norwich and cherish this town and its diverse residents and neighborhoods should already know, 58 bed, low barrier, overnight homeless shelter, and all of the disorder and negative externalities it will bring with it is fundamentally incompatible with the Chelsea Parade Historic District and its orderly development. The proposed facility clearly does not belong in an R10 residential neighborhood, directly surrounded on all sides by people's homes and yards and a short distance from both a large high school campus and an elementary school. I respectfully urge the commission to protect the integrity of Norwich zoning regulations, the safety and well-being of local students and residents, and the rights and property values of neighbors by denying this ill-conceived, still incomplete, and admittedly code violating special permit application. Thank you very much.
Would you like to give that to me?
Manual surf.
Hello, my name is Daniel Surf, and I live in the abutting property at 23 Broad Street. And I stand in opposition not because of heartlessness or anything other than I don't believe that this shelter is actually going to help the people it is intending to help. Recently, I helped a gentleman who was coming from the community lunch who had a medical problem in his leg. He couldn't walk very well, and he collapsed on the street across from where I was at the driveway of the church facility. And I brought him a chair. I ended up helping him to a ride, got him a Coke, sat with him for an hour as he tried to get, back on his feet, feel a little bit better. And, he left the facility in this manner, and there was no one else there to help him. But I could. But it's important to understand the needs of a community that this shelter is proposing to address. 58 people are going to have a lot of different needs regardless of whether or not they're homeless. They are going to have various health issues, mental health issues, hunger, and other just a spectrum of the issues that only two residents or two employees are going to have a incredibly difficult time addressing. We don't allow a classroom with 20 kids who are from hopefully better circumstances to have fewer than a certain number of teachers and aides in the room. 58 people with only 2 people to address any potential needs and problems. That's a lot, especially when you might have more problems than your average person in the neighborhood. So that is one of our big concerns. Another big concern is costs to Norwich beyond simply housing people. In New London, there is a facility that's had more than 600 calls in a year, and they are constantly getting police and ambulatory care coming to this facility to help these individuals out, but that comes at a cost that is far more expensive than if we had a proper homeless shelter in Norwich that had proper health care, nursing, doctor, mental health, addiction counseling. These things are all necessary, very useful, and this shelter does not, in its current form, address any of those needs. So that is why I stand in opposition.
Thank you. Victoria wrote something.
Good evening, my name is Victoria Brazza, and I reside at 170 and 172 Broadway. It is 2 beautifully nationally historic buildings right at the top of the hill, and we are restoring 12 apartments where we reside at as well. We pour a lot of blood, sweat into these buildings, and we do this because we see what everybody who comes to Norwich sees, potential. I implore you, give us the reason to stay. I work as a realtor in Remax Coast and Country. I work from East Lyme to Westerly and Norwich. I cannot get my buyers to come to Norwich. They will not come here. They will not look at the properties. I ask them, what are their concerns? And they say homelessness. They say public safety concerns. and they say high taxes and uncertainty of where this city is heading. And I think you all know that, and I don't have to tell you that. Ask yourselves, why do businesses hesitate to come here? Why do commercial properties stay vacant? Why are so many nonprofits coming to Norwich, creating this the hub for homeless people and for people that are potentially criminals? Not all, but some are. And the answer is there's no competition. No businesses want to come to Norwich because they have no incentives to come here. And what happens when the businesses do not come to Norwich? There's no jobs. And what happens when there's no jobs? There's more homeless people that are being created. And the homeless people that you are trying to help, they have no jobs to get out of being homeless. I truly believe if you want to help them, think about the senior citizens. You're saying that there's so many homeless people that are senior citizens. A lot of them got foreclosed on because they couldn't afford the property tax. Cut the property tax for the senior citizens. That will help the residents who've been here for 20, 30 years and who cannot afford to do this. This is not about lacking compassion. And my heart goes out truly to the people who are suffering and do need help. But there are bad apples. And like you said yourself, that there are people who will come with weapons and guns to the shelter and you will turn them away. And what happens? They are in our neighborhood. The shelter will attract all sorts of people. And they will be turned away from the shelter to wander the streets of Broadway. This is about whether this location is the right location for the shelter. And we do not believe that it is. The neighborhood is not the right location. And I implore you to think about the future of Norwich and what do you want the Norwich to be? Is the Norwich the Rose of New England and what does it stand for? And at the end of the day, you have to take care of the taxpayers. You have to take care of the homeowners who are restoring the homes, who are bringing businesses to the town, because without them, there is not going to be a nonprofit, because these are the people that are volunteering. These are the people that are paying taxes to support these programs. And if everybody leaves because they get fed up, everybody else is also getting left behind. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Hello, my name is William Dankinger. I live at 170 Broadway, just down the street from this. I just wanted to talk about some things that Gentleman here said, actually users of the tools. You said that last year you had 11 nights. So we extrapolate that over 4 times as many residents, and so you've got 44 calls.
Mr. Deacon,
Sorry, yeah, 44 call outs and 105 nights. In a residential neighborhood, again, not arguing rules of this. I agree with everybody for the foresight said, it's very few of you said anything about the location. I'm just here to say it should be somewhere else. And having, even like 1/4 of the 105 nights have overnight police call outs and sirens and lights. Like that's a distraction in a residential neighborhood. It's a distraction that I'm not saying it shouldn't happen because it's associated with the figure running, but that should happen in different zones place. It should happen in downtown. It should happen like near the facilities for people who are going to stay in the shelter. And so my perspective is that I think you need to find a location that's within range where they can go to during the day. A lot of your presentation was about what happens between 6 p.m. and 8 a.m. I don't think people who live next to this, that's not what they care about. They don't care about how safe the interior of your facility is. They care about what happens 1 block off, 2 blocks off, 3 blocks off, and you reject somebody, send someone away. What happens to that person after they leave and have to go downtown? When you talked about going back inside, I agree. Like from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., where do they go to the bathroom? They're wandering back to the neighborhood to their facility, which are downtown. And so it is just those things where I don't feel like your application addressed anything to do with safety outside of the property. And I think that's an important thing. And so I would just, I totally sympathize. I think this facility should exist somewhere for these people, but I don't think it should exist in the.
So it's,
So yes, I am also a resident of 23 Broad Street, and I didn't get certified mail. I own the property along my fiance. It was addressed to my fiance. So I think that's problematic as a logistic. So I was also present when this homeless gentleman collapsed outside St. Mark's. There was no one else around. Then came shopping. We got in a chair, sat down, got a Coke. Nobody was there to help him on the street, and I'm concerned because I am concerned for these people. They are human beings just like everyone else, and they deserve to be treated with respect. And that's not what I saw. I'm concerned that this is not the right place with right supports for them to be treated like they need to be treated. One thing also I think really is a sign for me is the lack of care that was used to provide this application. There was errors in what the zoning was for this location. There were incomplete, the application had to be deferred. If they can't take the care to provide a complete application, how are they going to care for these complex individuals? I think that is a sign. Yeah. And these individuals will not be left down. They have had a hard enough life the way it is. For someone to say they're going to help them and then let them down. Also supporting that is an independent audit that was commissioned by TVCCA that has found significant deficiency in internal financial controls. Yeah, don't shake your head. You know this report. And the CEO of there, Joshua Kelly, makes just about 200K by himself. So yeah, it's kind of surprising that someone who is advocating for the homeless is rolling in the dough like he is. And then does such a poor job at an application like this for vulnerable residents. So I would encourage the commission to take a look into that audit report that is required for individuals or for organizations that receive more than $750,000 in federal grant money. It's available online, and you can see that they are operating in the negative over $500,000. And this is 2025, an independent auditor. So you can find this information for yourself. It's public knowledge. And I think all of these points that I brought up are signs that they have not done their due diligence to protect a vulnerable population and the residents of the abutting properties that we have already seen, individuals that have gone to this area for help and have not they need. Thank you.
thank you. Ryan Harrison. Ryan Harrison. Isaiah Overton.
We are here for it.
Yes, sir.
We are here for the church tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry. Karen Staples.
Staples, like the office superstore. No relation. I have a number of things written down this evening. I just wanted to say, we live at 28 Arnold Place. We have a halfway house out in front between Julian Terrace and Bliss Place. I'm not
unfamiliar with homeless shelters. I worked at the Carpenter Shelter as a volunteer in my time when I lived in Washington DC for 13 years. It's a national model. I also worked at the Women's Shelter in DC once a month. And I lived next to the men's shelter. And I saw firsthand behavioral issues with all of the shelters, and all 3 of them have been relocated since I left that area. My concern tonight isn't about the shelter. It's more about the location of the shelter and the assets of this city. We need to protect our heritage assets in this city. And I said it before at a city council meeting. We've already done bad things in Norwich Town. Those behaviors and that ship is left. But we need to try to think about Norwich Town to City Hall in a different way and lead forth with a better heritage plan. Now, I won't read everything I have to say here, but I also work for Salt Lake City in my day job. And we had a significant homeless issue, as most of the western cities have. And what we went to was a regional approach. I have not seen any effort, and I'm not sure how to even approach that with you folks. But I went on every single town site around Norwich to see how they would redirect me if I needed shelter or I had behavioral issues or any of those services, and they direct all of them but one direct you to Norwich. One directs you to 211, but that sends you to Norwich. I do think that it's time for us to seriously consider how our regional partners can help us here. And I've heard no data points about where these homeless people are coming from. It doesn't mean they don't have needs. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't meet their needs. But I still think we have a severe problem with Norwich, and I agree with the realtor's points. With my business downtown, I can count a lot of people with behavioral health issues, homeless issues, drug issues, alcohol issues. I sat in my store and watched a man trying to beat a woman up the other day. It happens every day, and people think I'm crazy for starting a business in Norwich. But I took a chance on Norwich because I believe the citizens of Norwich deserve to have a nice place to come to. And I believe that all citizens should be treated fairly. I do not believe that the location of this shelter is at our best interest. I love the heart and the people of this church. You're amazing, but I don't believe in the location. I've witnessed firsthand for a long time what happens at shelters. And I don't know that you're ready. I don't know that I believe the city is ready to do this. And that's really all I have to say tonight. I would like to direct you, there's a 5-year plan. It's the open knowledge on in Salt Lake City, the mayor has posted what we've gone to for the regional. We had such a homeless issue in downtown. We had to address it. It killed our development. It was killing our convention business. It was stifling us terribly. And so they went to a regional disbursement of services, so long as the people could get to the services that they need. So CBUS would be really important to mention here. I'd like to see us have more time and more data points. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Cornelio Long, and I live on 167 Austin Street in Norwich. As you may know, my 4 generations Norwich. Her mother was born in Norwich. She was born in Norwich. Our children were born in Norwich, and my grandson was born in Norwich. So I want to be here tonight to show you my love for Norwich and how I want to make sure that what is good of Norwich is preserved in the future. I have no opposition at all for St. Mark to be a church and continue its good work as a church in terms of teaching, church services, fundraising, and so on. However, I do have a projection to its proposal in expanding its services and use of a TVCCA activities. And I especially oppose to its proposal for night shelter use. I lived in my address more than 50 years. I've been broken into my house twice. At both times by transients looking for property to steal for illegal drug use. Thanks to security cameras and the good work of our police department that they were caught and brought to court. And they were here in Norwich as transient because they want to purchase drugs, and because they don't have enough money to purchase them, they broke into people's houses. Now, I used to practice medicine here in Norwich for over 35 years. And I used to have patients coming from all over the state because they want prescription drugs. And I said, no. They would just say, well, that's okay. I'll just go to Wilmington because I can always purchase street drugs from there, although it's a little bit more expensive. Then I practiced for 10 years in New London. And I used to have patients also coming to see me because they want me to prescribe them prescription drugs. And I said, no. And then they will just come up and say, well, it's okay. I will always go to Norwich because I can get them there easily, but a little bit more expensive. So you may not have heard this, but we do have illegal drug problem here in Norwich. I used to be a VFW post commander when our post was located on Central Avenue. We had to sell that post because of a lot of illegal drug use in the vicinity. As a matter of fact, there were shootings and killings close by us, and we moved our post. So my point is, we do have transients coming to Norwich, and most of these transients will do something bad to the residents of Norwich. A lot of these transients may not have a place to stay overnight, and you see them sometimes as you're driving around the city. There are some people there totally fine that says need help for jobs or something. Not all of them are looking for drugs, but these are transients. And the only way we can really prevent them is to try to avoid them from coming, or prevent them from coming into our city. We do not want a place for them to act as a shelter that they can just stay anytime they want because they want to come to Norwich. We don't want Norwich to become an attraction for them just so that they can get the drugs. We have a huge problem, and I think we should address that as well. And the last thing I want to also mention is that I lived just behind St. Mark's Church, and my property line abuts the property line. Now, what they mentioned as having a courtyard there is really the size of a basketball court. And they mentioned that they will have something like 58 or 45 residents without cars. I'm not sure where they can park those cars in that court. And of course, the residents that they are going to be staying there also, like they said, can always hang out at the courtyard. That is a very small space. The overspill is going to be outside of that property. I don't think we have enough room for those guests to hang around outside. And I think it will just create more and more traffic incidents and activities that we don't need. So I want to preserve Norwich for our own good and for our own next generation, not an attraction for people who just want to come in and do the illegal things. Thank you.
We're gonna take a 5-minute recess. We convene at 9:37. We'll make it convene at 9:40. All right, I'm going back to these people who want to speak. Not addition, the next one signed up is Ed Good.
Good evening. I reside at Washington Street. I'm gonna see my full address just because it's already reported on the documentation there. But I reside on Washington Street and I reside in a home that is directly behind St. Mark's. So I see all the traffic. My wife and I are the benefactors of all the trash and all the waste and all the foot traffic that comes directly to our yard. I don't want to echo the same sentiments that some of my other folks have echoed as far as the opposition, but I do want to say although there are some good things with TVCCA and the mission that they do, and I understand that, I also know that, they represented a utopian point of view, and that there's an opportunity cost. And unfortunately, the residents in the surrounding area are going to have to suffer that burden behind that cost. Because we all know that in Norwich, there's limited resources, whether it's first responders or whether or not it's funding. And the bottom line is that, from my perspective, I'm not willing to go ahead and suffer the consequences behind a decision that's going to impact our neighborhood safety, our security, our well-being, or this town as far as prospect. So for me, I just wanted to go ahead and just underscore that. I did submit a letter that I sent in the mail that was registered, received it. And I just want to thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Steve, what's my name? Did I say it right? I got one right.
I'll try to do the same as COVID. I want to say first, it's very, very uncomfortable to speak against this. Very uncomfortable. What I do for a living is working with folks with mental health challenges. I've dedicated my own life and both professionally and personally to doing a lot of the same kind of work, different, but in the same vein and helping. I echo what other folks are saying. I very, very much applaud what the problems are being targeted and the solution, but I very much disagree with the location. I live about a 30-second walk from the proposed venue, and just want to kind of, for how I was trying to understand this helped me, and hopefully it'll help contribute to the conversation. I looked up what's the primary purpose of zoning. There's already zoning in place. The whole point in this is that we're asking for an exception to what's been in place for decades. But I found, quick internet search, the primary purpose of zoning regulations are to manage land use in an orderly, intentional manner, separates incompatible activities, protects property values, and ensures community growth safely according to an overarching master plan. I don't envy the commission's job here. Zoning regulations are enacted through local laws and achieve several key community goals, separating incompatible uses. Zoning partitions cities into distinct districts, residential, commercial, industrial, to shield homes from the noise, pollution, heavy traffic, and other associated things with different kinds of businesses or purposes. some of these don't apply so much in this case, so I'm gonna skip over those. And the other is, I'm sorry, but it does matter, protecting property values by enforcing rules about building uses and architectural standards. Zoning ensures that neighborhoods remain stable and property owners are protected from chaotic and disruptive developments. Because zoning maps and ordinances are highly specific to individual municipalities, it may vary from place to place. But I believe this is your job, is to protect the residents and the character of the city and the neighborhood specifically. And if you choose to go outside of that, it has to be for a very, very compelling reason. I bought my house about 6 years ago, and this is the first time I've had a second guest on Norwich. I'm gonna say it, I might not have too much sympathy in the audience. My taxes are over $1,000 per month. I wouldn't have bought this house if I was across from a homeless shelter.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask a couple of things. If you do overturn this, I'd like you to pledge that you would join me and my neighbors in then petitioning the tax assessor in significantly lowering our tax bill for our property values and therefore our taxes, because it absolutely will affect our tax. All right.
Count me in, yeah.
What am I reading is the more discrepant the neighborhood is from the proposed use, the greater the difference in tax values, the greater impact on tax assessments. And the second, you know, I was sitting with some very nice people back here. I might ask you, and I appreciate that this might be very difficult, but I'm asking you to imagine if you were right next to it, would you feel differently? And secondly, the CEO and the other folks, some over here as well, would you be willing to give me your personal phone number? And if there's a crime or I have a disturbance at 3 a.m, are you okay if I call you personally and say, guess what? And you're saying yes. I hope that that would be really true, because if it does play out that way, I'd like to take you up on that. I absolutely agree. The vast majority of people are not going to cause a problem. It's going to probably, it would be very, very peaceful, and there probably wouldn't be issues. It's the 1 out of 100 or the 1 out of 200, whatever that is, and it will happen. Factually, homeless people are more likely to have substance use issues. They're more likely to be involved in criminal activity, and they're more likely, there's a third one that's very, very high risk. Yeah. So anyway, hopefully I've contributed something that we haven't had yet, and unfortunately I have to say that I'm opposed.
Hello, I'm Kevin Heppel. I live in 242 Broadway, which is right next to St. Mary's. Again, a lot of things have been said. It's already been 9:45 now, so I'm going to disjointedly try to say what probably has been said in a different way. I actually agree. A homeless shelter is needed. The question is where best to locate it. I think TVCCA said themselves they wanted to locate it downtown in the old train station or somewhere else, but the zoning prevented it. Now, there are a lot of other services downtown that the zoning commission, I guess, does allow, like the Norwich Human Services Department, Reliance Health, Madonna Place, Catholic Charities. All of these would support a co-located homeless shelter, right, or you know, overnight shelter, I would think, but it's not permitted. What was my other point? So I guess it's just, what is the strategy of the town of Norwich to properly handle this? Is it locating a shelter away from these services that are already here? And just one other item, I think, is there no way to bus people to and from the shelter from these services that are already down? So, sweet.
So what I got on the list here, is there anybody online, somebody else? Your name, sir?
Hi, good evening. My name is John Lanking. I am the new owner, proud owner of 24 Broad Street. I bought from Sandy and G. Porto. Been there for 11 years. And I guess I would say I would like to submit to this commission three perspectives. My first perspective as a former police officer in the city of Norwich. I've been to Lord's Theater, it's a training at one center. As a former police officer, I have been to the Lord's Theater when it was a bomb shelter, and I've been there for intoxicated people, near overdoses and assaults and fights. So it does happen. And there are nice calls and need for services for those type of shelters. As a homeowner in the city of Norwich, I've been here nearly 40 years, but as a homeowner in the city of Norwich, it's a sad truth. But I have had some theft on the days of it when they've had their free lunches and things. I've had my tenant had his vehicle rummaged through, broken into. It's a sad truth, but it happens. Lastly, my last perspective, as a nurse and the recipient, 2026 recipient of the Florence Nightingale Award, I am known for my compassion for people. And I don't say that we don't want to help people, but we're talking about a location. It's related location. I think all my neighbors, we're all enjoying saying that we do want to help our fellow man. As already been stated, zoning is there for a reason. We just think there's a better location. Thank you. Mike, MEINUKIE.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I actually have some questions, questions for a minute.
Well, we're not doing questions. Anybody else want to speak? Anybody online wants to state your opposition? Put your hand up.
I'll speak.
Sorry, ma'am, you wanted to speak?
I'll speak. My name is Diana Bugby. My husband and I live at 55 Ross. I can look out my front window and see St. Mark's. And I've been totally against homeless shelter here. Not because it's a homeless shelter, just the wrong place for a homeless. We have so many young kids walking to and from school to daycare, anything like that. We have a lot of senior citizens still. My husband and I have been in the same house for 42 years. It's a worse area that you could ever put a homeless. I don't know where I'm totally in a homeless shelter. And I can't tell you how many times that I would pull over and help somebody that needed help or that was out there looking for money. So it can't be what one of the other people said before, that shame on us. No. That's wrong to judge other people without knowing everything. But I think it's the worst thing that you could do for the neighbor. Everything else has been said.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I think we'll wrap up speakers for tonight.
But we'd like to recommend that public hearing be continued to the meeting in, August 8th of that is
The 21st.
21st.
Okay, so, this is gonna be continued to July 23rd.
Chairman, can I make a comment? So the public that's here tonight, if you spoke, you do not need to speak again at the next public hearing. All your comments are part of the record. It's just a continuation. It just allows more comment. If you have something different to say, you're definitely welcome to come back up between now and then if something else. But if you don't need to come and repeat yourself, because it's still part of the open public hearing. Thank you.
You wanna make a motion to continue the public hearing?
Yes, I'll make a motion to visit the public hearing to apply.
Do we have a second? Second by Justin, all in favor? Aye. Want to know for the record, that was has.
Yep, we both have five.
All right, so moving on to the agenda now, we have new business, next public hearing is SP 260639 Mohegan Park Road. Request for a special permit in accordance with zoning. Accessory apartment located on the application and companies with the Nina Andrews. Accessory map 86, block 32, John Park. Hey, if they're gonna be talking, could you please move outside? We're still trying to have the meeting here. Okay, so this is SP 2606. We have a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to have a second. We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Is that still on that?
Yes.
All right, so, sir, are you here, in connection with the, application for the special permit?
Yes, I am.
Can you give us your name?
My name is Isaac Overton.
You want to tell us, are you speaking at the application yourself?
No, Nita Andrews here, also.
Whoever's gonna be doing the speaking.
No commissioners, good evening. Request for a special permit, that's what we see.
You use the microphone.
We hope that you would allow us to get that. The permit, be able to build for my mother-in-law, just that one person.
My mom is 83 years old. She's not able to stay at home because she has bedroom upstairs and the bathroom is downstairs. So we had to move her bedroom in the living room. And also the house where she's at is a hill. It's 24 York at this one. It's a stiff hill.
If she's not able to walk up and down, she has to go outside and walk around, she cannot do that anymore. 2020, we took 3 sisters, one was 2 days old, one was 3 and 1 7. 2 years later, we are done with those. And with that being said, our home is very small. We cannot pull my mom in here, plus the bedrooms upstairs and where the bathroom's also upstairs, and she cannot go up and down the stairs constantly, and we have no room for her. With that being said, I work for 8 to 4 in the afternoon. My husband goes back and forth between the 2 houses, and I get out of work. I go there for 2 hours. I go home to take care of the kids, and then by 8, 9 o'clock, I'm back over there to spend the night. So at this point, we just don't know what to do.
So you want to build an accessory apartment over the garage?
Correct.
All the paperwork been submitted?
Yes, why don't I do a quick rundown?
Yeah,
So the applicant is looking to do, they're gonna build a garage, accessory apartment above it, a connector addition that connects from their lower level up. So there will be a staircase, but it'll be a smaller, short staircase to get from the first level up to the second story of the garage. It would go to ZBA for a variance because the setback, the garage is located within the front setback, as well as the connectors within that front setback. They did get their full variances. There will be a porch, not a deck along the backside that was not part of the variance because it's on the back of the building with in the inside of the boundaries where they have the setback. So I did my review after it went to the zoning board of appeals. It is a special permit use for an accessory apartment, which we may down the road change that. We're thinking that up, but right now it's still that way. So the applicants had to notify their butters, and they did do the certified letters that they needed to do. They sent them out on the time frame. I did have some reviews done by different departments. So I just want to kind of touch base on that. Firstly, I'd like to back up and say the drawing that was submitted to ZBA was a hand sketch and it wasn't done very well. So I tried to sketch it out for you again based on the information from the variances, and we agreed that this is what you were looking for. So in that application, it shows the drawing. It is not a survey. So what I'm recommending is because they got variances, is that they have a surveyor stake out the location of the garage before it goes, the foundation goes in to make sure it meets the variance, and then at the end do an as-built, which means shooting the location on a plan to show that it went where it was supposed to go. So it can get any closer.
And so I talked to the engineer.
Yeah. And so they've agreed to that. The drawings they submitted in originally, there was a change in them from what the variance application was. So I was working with their builder named Danny to make sure that they worked with the same drawings that went to the ZBA, and he verified in the field that they can. There was a difference of like 10 square feet, and it was making the connector a little bigger, but he had to scale that back because the variance was very specific, so you couldn't modify it. So he can work within the variance. So that was agreed upon. There's some sketch drawings if Dan wants to show those in the, I don't know if it's easy for you to do it. That's the drawing that I did for them. So there's what the floor plan is for the property. They also get a variance because the size of the footprint is bigger than maximum of 30% of the square footage of the house, because the house is very small. So the garage is pretty almost equal, looking at it, equal to the size of the house. It's fairly large. But let me go through the comments here really quickly. Firstly, the MPU had some questions that have been since resolved and answered by the contractor, which was the utilities will connect to the main house through the catwalk and under the sunroom, and the plumbing will connect to the main stack and the basement of the main house, and the electrical panel of the main house will be upgraded to a 200 amp box with a new 100 amp box in the garage to supply the electrical to the addition. And that was satisfactory to MPU. The zoning enforcement officer is issuing a permit for the garage only right now, so we can start that with the condition that be staked out so that they can do that while they're waiting for an appeal period on this. Let me see what else we have. the criteria was submitted for the special permit. And most of it is not applicable, to be honest with you, but hold on a second, see if there was any answers here. So we went through the 10 criteria and, the design elements, I think, was the only answer that was the relevant, which the new structure will have white vinyl matching the side style of the building in the immediate area. Everything else, the other 9 criteria, were pretty much not applicable to this application, and I agree with that. So in my memo, they have addressed, if you want to go back to my memo, they've addressed the comments that I had. They know that they have 3 parking spaces, which is sufficient. And these comments have been addressed. They have confirmed that there is a deed restriction required in our zoning regulation if they end up renting the unit, which they're not using, but if they end up or sell the property, it needs to be rented at or below prices that would qualify it as an affordable housing unit. And there's a deed restriction that goes on land records that we provide to you. You will file land records. They did address item 8, which was telling me what the purpose of the application was, and then the special permit criteria. I would only say on number 9 of my memo is at the close of the public hearing, if you act on the application, they decide to make a favorable motion after stating the reasons on the record, and the reasons on the record would be the application complies with section 4.2. And that the applicant sufficiently demonstrated the special permit criteria has been met. And then I have some additional 6 comments here. And those are like the certificate of approval be filed on the city clerk's office. I did not ask for a site plan, like I said, I helped hand draw it because I did not feel it was necessary. And since the ZBA accepted even something less than I did, so I think that, we can get away with not filing that. So there's a deed restriction that needs to go on, the certification of the zoning, the special permit. They apply for zoning permits specifically for the accessory apartment and the as-built requirement, and that the owner of the principal dwelling shall occupy at least one of the dwelling units on the premises. So if you, a time period that you want to switch, you just have to leave their accessory apartment, you need to live in one. They can't rent them both out. That makes sense. And then any modifications in the future need to just come back. So those are my 6 comments that I would like you to make additions. I don't have anything else for you unless you had comments. There is an exhibit list, which is all the things that we just talked over. I'd like to waive the reading of that. And it's 11 items plus a couple, 2 more, which is the special permit criteria and the information from Rob Harris. That's it.
Do you want to make a motion to waive the reading of the exhibit list before we vote on it?
Here it is. Here it is.
There it is.
You got it? Okay.
It's up, so we can. We need a motion to.
You can do that if you want.
I'll make a motion to waive the reading of the exhibit list.
Thanks.
Do we have a second?
Okay.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Any other waivers we need to?
No. Okay.
We need a motion to close the public hearing.
Oh, we want to ask if anyone here to speak on behalf of.
Anybody in the public want to speak?
Yeah, well, it's the right behind it, so I'm Greg.
You have to say your name on the record so we can.
Oh, my name is Andre P. Thompson. My name is Andre P. Thompson.
Okay. What's your address, Andre?
It's 5 Jennings Street.
And you support the application?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm Andre Katomsky's wife, Janine, and we're so happy to be living next to these people.
Good.
And we understand the need for this, and I agree with making sure of all the zoning regulations and engineering, and I'm not good with details, but I was very impressed by what you were saying. It's a learning experience. As long as they make sure of the stability of what they're building and follow all the regulations. Wish you luck.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to speak in connection with this application?
Sure.
Hi, my name is Alicia Adams. I live at 213 West Town Street. I am a housing advocate. That's been my career, that's been my passion. And, you know, I'm all for diverse housing types in the city, especially accessory dwelling units that keep people in their homes, close to family needs.
Thank you. Don't see anybody else here, so. I'm assuming-
Anyone online? Check online? Does anyone?
Anybody online who wants to speak in connection?
There's a few.
Raise your hand. Don't see any hands raising on the screen. All right, so, that being said, I think we can close the public.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion, do we have a second? Second by Jason, all in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed.
Thank you, Dennis.
Do you want to make a motion in connection with the application? So.
I'll make a motion to approve the application, reason being that we meet stipulation 4.2 and meets staff 6 comments.
Do we have a second?
Second by Jenkins.
Second, I think I heard Dennis.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. It's approved. We're good to go.
Thank you, guys, thank you.
So you'll get a letter from me with some paperwork, but then you can start with apartment, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Final plan,
Good
so
luck.
I'll give it to the engineer, because I think I have a different design for the plan.
Send it to you.
Thank you.
I'll email
Thank you.
But you need to pull the permit, zoning permit, which you gotta pay for, but it's ready to go.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. All right.
Thank you for your patience tonight.
Yeah. It was long.
I couldn't even talk, I used to. Yes, but thanks again.
Moving on to the other stuff.
Potential action on site development plan and SDP 1062 Shipman Drive.
Yes.
Is there anybody here? Okay, so the next matter is SDP 1062 Abraham Drive, site plan review. The proposed improvements to approximately 4.88 acres at the site. Proposed improvements include reconstructing the existing running track, conversion of the interior natural gas grass field to synthetic turf, spectator seating, and retrofitting of the existing lighting. Additional improvements include ADA accessible pathways to connect to the senior center, a modular restroom building that is ADA accessible, improvements to the existing parking lot and associated street improvements. It's the application of Gale Associates, Inc., property of the city of Norwich, Assessors map 69, block 1, lots 22, zone R40. So, we need a public hearing on this? Or no?
Just saying. There are people online. Yeah.
So is there somebody here to speak on behalf of this application?
Yes, that would be me, Kyle Rowan with Gale Associates. Ready to start whenever you want us to.
Yeah, feel free
you're
to,
ready.
you can share your screen, Kyle.
Okay. All right, let me make sure that works quickly. Let me know when you see an aerial, Google Earth aerial. It's popped up yet, or am I sharing the wrong screen?
You are presenting, if you could zoom in because it's kind of small on the screen here.
Okay. You should be looking at an aerial of the existing track. Just making sure you're seeing the same screen. All good?
Yes.
Okay. All right. As long as you can hear me okay, I'll get started. So good evening, Chairman and Commission members. Good late evening, that is. Thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. My name is Kyle Rowan. I'm a project manager with Gale Associates, a New England-based engineering design firm. I'm joined tonight by my colleague, Carl Rigi, who is a project designer who has done a bulk of the design heavy lifting on this project. Tonight, we are speaking on behalf of our client, the City of Norwich, with respect to the proposed athletic facilities improvements at Fontaine Field, which is located at 8 Manhattan Drive in Norwich, Connecticut, and is the site you see the existing aerial of here on Google Earth on my screen. So, just a brief update on the project schedule up to date. This project, the design phase, was initiated back in November of 2025, just this past fall. Around that time, we initiated the subconsultant site evaluations, so that included topographic and boundary survey, evaluation of the existing site electrical and utilities, as well as geotechnical investigations, which included borings, augers, and infiltration testing. The final schematic design was completed in January of this year, and then the site development plan permit package was submitted on April 23rd, which puts us at about the 75 to 90% design level. We did not attend the May 19th hearing after that application was submitted. That, I believe, was at the request of the CCP due to just having a busy agenda. So hence us being here this evening. So existing conditions, as noted in the agenda, the limit of work encompasses just over 4.8 acres, which is pretty much, the track itself and then a little bit around it on each side. I got to zoom out a bit here. Just for reference, this actual parcel does extend. It's limited by the roadway. The property line runs kind of right in the tree line here, but this parcel does extend to encompass the existing senior center, parking lot, tennis courts, so on to the north. So all in all, the parcel is 13.94 acres. Again, our limit of disturbance is 4.8 acres out of that 13.9. The existing principal use of this site is active recreation, municipal. We are in the Government Facilities Zoning District, GFZ. And to get into what exists on the site now, in terms of athletics, its primary use, there is a approximately 400-meter stone dust running track. Inside that track is a natural grass field with limited irrigation and subsurface under drainage. There are 4 athletic light poles, more or less at each corner of the field here. Light towers, I should say. They're in the 70 to 80-foot range, metal alloy towers. On the south side, our project is bordered by John Edwards Drive. There are also 2 small bituminous existing parking lots. One you can see here is higher up on the ledge. I can give you a sense of elevation in a bit, but this is higher up on the ledge, and then there is a smaller lot right down here, which really is exclusive to a single ADA accessible parking spot. Also on this side of the site, there is a community group gifted wooden gazebo. This will remain in the project. It's just going to be relocated, which I'll get to later. On the west side of the site, we're bordered by Mahan Drive. There is a landscape slope approximately 8 feet from the road to the track between the two. Again, all grass. There's a chain link fence running along this side between 4 and 5 feet tall. There are existing stairs leading to the track from the road. Going over to the north side of the site here, we have limited existing tree coverage. And then, of course, that leads us into the existing parking lot for the senior center, which will be involved in our project in some way, which I'll get to in a bit. On the east side, we're pretty much undeveloped. There is a ledge outcrop right around here, abutting the limit of work on this side. That ledge has, limited soil and vegetation cover, 12 inches or less in some places. Some places it's exposed, but as you go further back up the slope, that coverage gets better, soil coverage, obviously with the trees. Okay. Some items of note, other than what you see on the aerial here in terms of our geotechnical investigations, just a quick summary there. We performed 8 borings, 3 auger probes, and select infiltration testing where necessary based on where we're proposing subsurface infiltration systems. We also performed rock core samples of that exposed ledge in case any of that has to be removed in part of the project scope. As for the topsoil, for the most part, it is sand with some silt and or trace silt. Those are the technical terms they use. Groundwater was observed at 4 to 5 feet at borings 5 through 7, which are more or less within the limits of the existing field. Groundwater was deeper, closer to 7 feet at boring 8, which is over in this corner, which is where we are proposing one of our infiltration systems. As far as the measured on-site infiltration, we were anywhere between 0.3 and 1 inch per hour at borings 4, 6, and 8. So again, that's 2 in the field, 1 over in this area here. All borings did hit refusal at about 10 feet, which for the most part is bedrock. Obviously, this whole area sits on ledge, therefore our project site sits on ledge. For the most part, generally speaking, that bedrock is 8 to 10 feet down of our proposed improvements. The only exception to that is this upper lot here, which they hit bedrock just 2 feet below that pavement surface. This lot was originally included in the project scope. It is no longer included for complexity and cost reasons, so we're not proposing any work here, just pointing out some of the existing site conditions discovered in that area. Let's see. In terms of that relatively shallow bedrock, just to alleviate any concerns, all of the structures that we are proposing, so a small bleacher system, a small restroom building, a storage shed, those will all be slab on grade foundations, so we're not actually excavating too deep for any of those. And then with respect to the light poles, the proposed conditions are going to keep those same poles and foundations. We're just going to replace the fixtures, so we're avoiding the need to remove and reinstall new light pole bases, which can get pretty deep, or different modes if necessary. So that being said, major excavation on this site will mostly be limited to utilities, specifically stormwater, piping, and the associated structures, all of which have been designed to fall above that bedrock layer. So jumping into proposed conditions, I'm going to bring us to the primary layout materials sheet for the project. Principal use on this site remains the same. Obviously, it's an existing track and field now. We're proposing a track and field, just different materials and size and use. In terms of the improvements, what we're showing here is a 6-lane urethane or latex surfaced running track. The interior field will be converted to synthetic turf material. That's everything in green here, so these D areas, as well as the field itself. The field will have safety netting on both ends, which has kind of become a design standard in modern conventional design of these systems, just to allow play play on the field while people are using this area on either side, either for practice or to protect runners coming around that curve from shots on goal, so on and so forth. The center field will be multi-purpose. It'll be permanently striped for football, lacrosse, both genders of lacrosse, and soccer. We'll have permanent football field goals at either side, embedded in the field, and obviously some player benches scattered about. Those will be non-permanent fixtures. Other items we have proposed spectator seating on both sides of the field. The permanent seating is on this side. It's an actual slab on grade permanent grandstand structure that is intended to seat 146. And then on this side, we have 2 temporary bleacher systems, just 2 rows, but much longer. Those are just 50 people each. And again, those are temporary non-mounted systems. I already noted the existing athletic lights in these 4 corners will remain, and the fixtures will be replaced, but the poles will remain. Additional items, we are proposing a new scoreboard over in this. To give you a sense of north here, north is actually to the left of the plan, so the northwest corner is where we are proposing the scoreboard. There's also a modular storage unit in this bottom right corner. This is just an aluminum prefabricated building that sits on a concrete slab. It has 3 roll-up bay doors, no electrical or anything of that sort. It's a pretty basic system, but it protects outdoor equipment quite well, and we use it on a lot of our facilities. The community gifted gazebo that I had noted that it exists down in this corner here. That's going to be relocated to a concrete pad over on this corner of the site to make way for future improvements in that area. Parking wise, so I know it'll be a little confusing at first, but I'm going to jump to that sheet. You'll see this is a 13 space parking lot proposed off of that corner, the southwest corner of the track. So this will be near that storage building, and it provides access directly to John Edward Drive. It's a 2-lane access drive with access to the field and track for maintenance vehicles. And again, 13 parking spaces, 2 of which will be ADA spaces. And I'll get to it in a bit, but the reason this is on its own sheet is at the moment it is an ad alternate in the project just for bidding and cost purposes, which I'll go into more detail on in a bit. Finishing up with what's proposed out here, relatively straightforward. We are proposing pedestrian circulation paths, paved pedestrian circulation paths all around the site. So that'll connect to either the existing parking lot or the new parking lot. It'll connect to all the site features, wrap around the track, both sets of spectator areas. And also at the request of the city, we'll be connecting to a patio behind the existing senior center, as well as to the senior center parking lot with benches scattered along that route. If it isn't clear already, the general intent of this project obviously is to provide ADA access to the full suite of the site and facilities. The only real limitation to that is the existing stairs to Mahan Drive, which will be reconstructed, but obviously they themselves will not be ADA compliant. Access to the site is by the other means shown here. The last item, I think, in terms of proposed conditions that I want to note is the restroom building in the southwest corner. I can actually pull up a footprint of that for better reference. So this building by code is intended to service the 146-seat permanent grandstand bleacher up on the ledge side of the site. By code, that means we need 2 women's fixtures, a minimum of 2 women's water closet fixtures with 1 lavatory, 1 male fixture with 1 lavatory, a service sink, and that's pretty much it. So what you see here is the footprint of that modular building. This is, if I didn't already say it, this is concrete modular, so it's prefabricated. It comes to the site more or less fully assembled, and it's just going to go again on another slab on grade foundation. It's split into more or less 5 rooms. The 2 on the bottom you see here will be bathrooms for each gender. On the left, you have women's, which has 2 women's water closets separated by partitions, sharing a single lavatory. On the men's side, you have 1 male, 1 men's water closet, 1 urinal, again, shared sink. So similar shape and layout on both sides, meeting those minimum restroom fixture requirements. And then on the other side of the building, these 2 spaces here are just general utility, changing rooms, small locker rooms, any sort of all-purpose use like that, as requested by the city and included in their funding request for this project. The only other item of note, there's a utility room / closet here that would include the utility sink, mop sink. There's also a utility chase for the building that connects to that same room. See here. There's an elevation of the side of this building, as well as an elevation at the front and rear. So individual door access to each of those rooms that we went through. All right, I'm going to go back to this. That building, it is prefabricated, it's slab on grade, but it will be permanently connected to municipal utilities. So we'll be connected to potable water, sewer, as well as electric. It will be insulated and heated. This is actually, this one item is a change from the original submission upon request from the city. So we'll make note of that in our responses to the DPW comments that we've received to date to get that on record. But yes, they requested that we upgrade this to a heated insulated building, which for the purposes of this application and speaking to this commission, it does not impact really the design in any other way. It's primarily a cost item with this prefabricated building manufacturer. Okay. That's pretty much it for proposed conditions. Again, as I said, I was going to touch on, there is one alternate associated with this project, the way it's put together right now, and that is that parking lot in the southwest corner. So what you see here is the base bid. That still has the storage building, the restroom building, but we are just connecting the track walkways and the access drive or access to the field, vehicle access, to the existing single space parking lot. So that's the base bid. Hopefully, the budget and contingency allows for the addition of this alternate, which is the full 13 space parking lot with 2 ADA spaces, which again all ties into this building and to John Edward Drive. So I guess while I have this plan up just for reference, I just wanted to touch on some of the primary items and prompts in the site development plan application we submitted. So in terms of traffic increase and parking requirements, obviously parking is very limited on this site to begin with. We wanted to note in our narrative that there's no proposed change in use. Therefore, necessarily no increase in traffic or parking requirements. There is parking at adjacent municipal properties. I can go back to here. You have the recreation area to the south, the school to the west, and the senior center to the north. So that is another item we noted. We have since received an initial round of comments from the Office of Planning and Development, and they appear to have acknowledged that logic and accepted it. Water and sewer demand. So this really is primarily required coordination with Norwich Public Utilities, NPU. We have in writing from them that the water and sewer demand will be met by the available municipal capacity. The last item we're sorting with them is electrical, which we actually just submitted a formal letter to them from our electrical subconsultant last week. We're just waiting on their response, but it's our understanding it's more or less a formality at this point. Our subcontractor has confirmed that electrical capacity is available on site for what we are proposing. In terms of permits, sort of the next prompt down the list, our disturbance again is 4.8 acres, so that is below the 5-acre threshold, allowing us to consider this project a locally approvable small construction project, therefore exempt from the next level of CTDEEP permitting. However, of course, our disturbance is over half an acre, therefore triggering local permitting, hence our application for this project in April and our presentation tonight. Additional prompts relative to the application discussed in the narrative is buildings or addition sizes proposed. So again, in terms of buildings, all we're proposing is this modular restroom building, as well as the modular aluminum storage building. I think we already kind of went through the restroom details more or less. I think, one item I forgot to note on that is there is an outdoor fountain mounted on that restroom building. But other than that, I think we went through those details. So I'll leave that one for any questions at the end. Projected number of employees, there will be no full-time employees anticipated on this site. It'll be maintained by the municipality the same way it is today, just with slightly different maintenance requirements given the new condition. Proposed methods of screening from the adjacent rights of way. So there's an existing stone wall and trees and limited vegetation along John Edward Drive. That stone wall and vegetation is intended to remain. There is a small, I'll say 2 to 3 foot section of stone wall right at the existing entrance to John Edward Drive, which may require, you can see it, you can't see it, but there is a stone wall right in here in this vegetation. We have to expand the drive a little bit to get the turning radius. If the parking lot alternate goes through, that would require a very small amount of stone wall removal right here. That'll be stockpiled and either reinstalled, or alternatively, it may be reinstalled down at this opening here, which will no longer be necessary given the proposed conditions. Let's see here. Other than that, in terms of screening, there's no proposed tree removal on site, so all existing trees will remain. Like I said, there's an existing chain link fence running along Mahan Drive. It's between 4 and 5 feet tall, you know, standard old galvanized fence. We are proposing to replace that with a more aesthetically and pleasing and functional timber guardrail, traffic rated timber guardrail. Let's see, proposed lot coverage. So our records indicate the existing senior center is 16,054 square feet. We are proposing a total of 846 square feet of additional building coverage with the combination of this restroom building and the storage building. That brings us to 16,900 total square feet. And again, this is a 13.94 acre lot, so that total square footage would be 2.8% of that total square footage or total lot size. And the allowable coverage in this zoning district is 90%. So 2.8, we're considerably below that. I think that's pretty much it for the permit package narrative. The permit package itself, other than this narrative, obviously includes the site development plan application and checklist. It includes the erosion, sediment, and stormwater runoff control plan, which itself includes our plan set, stormwater calculations, watershed plans, all available, USGS, FEMA, NOAA, soils information, the geotechnical report, environmental GIS, as well as an operations and maintenance plan. There is also a project cost estimate included in that application document, which at the moment, with that alternate included, lists the project at approximately $5 million. That's with a 10% contingency added in and accounted for. Stakeholder comments to date. So again, this was submitted back on April 23rd. We have since received an initial round of comments from the Office of Planning and Development. In that comments, they noted that there were no formal comments. Well, they received a response saying, quote unquote, no comment from Norwich Public Utilities, the building official, zoning official, and fire marshal. That's it so far. We did receive a batch of comments from the city engineer, who also happens to be our client. So we're continuing to coordinate with them, and it is our understanding there was a discussion between the city engineer and the Office of Planning and Development that these questions would be addressed as a contingent or a, what do you call it, stipulation of CCP approval. That is what we have been told. Project schedule going forward, obviously contingent on approval with this commission and that timeline. But generally speaking, we would be looking at a bid period in July, August, September, October of this year, you know, sometime within that window. Once bids are received, this project is funded by the CIF, so there's a up to 2-month review period with them, which would therefore take place in September, October, November, or December. And then lastly, the idea is to break ground on this project in March of 2027, hopefully with substantial completion in and around August of 2027 for beneficial use that fall of next year. I think that is my spiel. Sorry to drag us even later into the night. Yeah. That's it for me. Any comments or questions?
None for me. And
I'll go over my memo. So as Kyle mentioned, we don't have really a whole lot of comments at this point. It's a city project, we've been working in coordination all along. I did ask for different bike racks to be installed, called out the concrete plan. We are in agreement, there's adequate public parking. Senior center. In the area. The standard comments, all other comments need to be addressed on a revised plan set. Recommended there isn't planting native non-invasive species or site. Is have some standard comments, stipulations here. Reading at this point, but be included should anyone choose to make a motion for approval. And I have some suggested reasons here. Proposal conforms to chapter 6, section 3.3A, section 7.4.
Any questions? No. Do you want to make a motion?
Maybe anything, we go. Okay, make a motion of approval. For the reason the proposal conforms to chapter 6, section 3.3.8 and section 7.4.8 zoning regulations.
Conditions set up.
And the conditions set up then. Yeah.
Right, we have a motion, we have a second. We'll figure it. Second by Jason, any discussion?
Just a quick question for Kyle. Kyle, is there going to be security, surveillance, video surveillance at the site?
At the moment, that is not in this project scope. We can discuss it with the city, up to them, but at the moment, no.
And what did you say the track is going to be made of?
Kind of like the standard material that you see on any municipal or certain college level tracks. It's a 1/2-inch synthetic latex and or urethane system. So basically it's bituminous pavement, and there's a 1/2 inch of this synthetic surfacing. On top of that, there's a small layer of structural spray, which is those kind of like ridged little pieces that provide the grip and the color. If you've ever been on any track, really, it's the most common system. But yeah, that's what it'll be.
Thank you.
Anybody else questions? Hearing none, I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Right, so it's passed unanimously. Next matter. CP 6394, 100 Main Street. Site plan review for proposed interior renovation and reconfiguration of second floor of an existing 3-story mixed-use building. Renovations include 2 additional 1-bedroom dwelling units and 4 office spaces. Location and property of Chong, Accessory map 102, Block 2, Lot 58, Zone Chelsea Central.
So
Is there somebody here that's?
nope. As request of staff tonight, if we can table this to next month's meeting. Children more time.
Okay, so
I've informed you.
motion to table SDP 1063 to July 21st meeting.
I'll make a motion to table SCP 1063 until next meeting, July 20th.
Do we have a second?
Second by Dennis.
By Dennis, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so let's table SDP 1064, 505, 509, New London Turnpike site plan review for the proposed Seven Brew Crawford drive-through shop. Proposed improvements include the removal of existing buildings and construction of a new approximately 510 square foot building and detached 210 square foot cooler. Associated site improvements include dual drive-through circulation, bypass lane, lighting, landscaping, and associated site improvements. Application of DTD Norwich LLC, Field Engineering and Design LLC, property of Panther Dev Norwich LLC, Assessor's map 116, block 1, lots 79 and 80, zone general commercial. Anybody here to speak on this tonight?
Yes.
Yes, Josh Klein, Stonefield Engineering and Design.
Feel free to share your screen, Josh, and may have
Go ahead.
Zoom it in.
Perfect. I can get things started. Thank you for having us. I'm gonna do my best to try to kind of move things through quickly. I know it's been a long evening. Again, Josh Klein, Stonefield Engineering and Design, licensed engineer in Connecticut, as well as 7 other states. We do have a representative from the Seven Brew team on as well here tonight. We're really excited to be bringing this application. A lot of time and effort has kind of gone into bringing us to this point. Seven Brew is a really exciting concept that's been growing and coming across the country as well as throughout the state of Connecticut. There's over 600 stores open nationwide. Their philosophy is really built on creating modern conveniences, creating flexibility, kind of having a modern and custom-oriented interaction at the drive-through use. So just a couple of the highlights of the use. The concept is drive-through only. Customers do not go inside. There's no seating inside. There's no food prep or dining within the building. It's really a beverage only concept. There are prepackaged snacks, for example, like muffin tops that you can purchase, but again, no food prep is on site. One of the big aspects and something we like to also touch on is kind of the ordering style. So it's not a traditional drive-through where you have a menu board or a speaker system that you kind of speak into. There are employees that are walking. They're called texters. They have tablets. They walk through the lanes and they take the orders. And then as customers kind of continue through, they're delivered their drinks when they get underneath the canopy of the facility. So a little bit different of an approach, but it provides a really fast, efficient, and safe experience, for the customers. As we kind of look at the development specifically here tonight, I'm just kind of highlighting. So it's 2 lots. This is just the cover sheet, the aerial. So we have Salem Turnpike towards the top of the page or to the north, New London Turnpike on the right-hand side of the page or to the east. 2 existing kind of underutilized lots. Kind of noted the southern lot, single family home. Northern lot potentially had some office use, but again, an underutilized, residential, possibly office property. Kind of highlighting a few items, just from an existing standpoint. So today there are 3 kind of uncontrolled driveway curb cuts, 2 along New London Turnpike, 1 along Salem Turnpike. The 2 homes on the site are about 2 stories. The larger is on the corner of the property, about 1,500 square feet. The smaller is to the south, which is again 2 stories, about 780 square feet. The site has kind of a unique topography across it. It kind of drops from right to left or from New London Turnpike as you work your way down to Salem Turnpike, about 15 feet of grade change. And the site really, beyond the kind of the development, does not have, beyond the 2 kind of homes, not much significant develop on site. No stormwater systems or anything like that exist today on the site. As we move to the proposed plan, I'm going to zoom in. So again, same orientation, New London Turnpike on the right-hand side or to the east, Salem Turnpike along the top of the page or to the north. So what we looked to do here was kind of follow the drive-through standards in the city. We early on had a pre-application meeting. We actually had 2 pre-application meetings to really make sure we had a great product that we were bringing in front of this commission here tonight. So you have the proposed Seven Brew coffee shop, which is about 510 square feet. You have the kind of remote cooler, which is about 250 square feet. There is a canopy that extends over kind of the main kind of pickup area, as well as a canopy that extends kind of in between the structures to kind of help protect employees. We're proposing a write-in only driveway along Salem Turnpike. We have had correspondence with Connecticut DOT, both in kind of preparation of a traffic impact study that was submitted as part of this application, as well as kind of ensuring the access design and the site can accommodate. There is a future project that is happening along the roads. We wanted to make sure that we were kind of taking that into consideration. So a write-in only driveway on Salem Turnpike. We are proposing a full movement driveway on New London Turnpike. One of the comments we went through and we didn't have time to meet with staff in anticipation of tonight was adding a dedicated left turn and a dedicated right turn out of New London Turnpike, which we have no issue doing. And we've read through all the comments that we've received to date, and we would be able to address all of those comments. But I did want to kind of highlight, a couple of the bigger ones, which can be kind of easily accommodated on the updated plans. So the project, the proposal has 2 drive-through lanes that are serviced. So lane 1 and lane 2, a total of 20 spaces between the 2 lanes. There is a full dedicated bypass or pass-through lane that goes around the entirety of the drive-through lane. There are 8 employee-only parking spaces. 5 spaces are required by code. What we found is about 7 to 8 parking spaces are needed at the peak shift. There might be on a typical day 3 to 4 employees, but again, on a peak period, or to provide enough kind of parking there for a turnover from one shift to the other, 8 is what we like to see on the site, which is why you see we have these 8 spaces. And again, they're for employee only, so customers cannot park in these spaces. A couple of the other site features, we are proposing a bike rack on the site. We have the trash enclosure that's shown here with a pedestrian gate, just for employees to be able to easily access it without having to go through the main gate. We are designing the site to provide stormwater management. We included a stormwater management report. We're proposing subsurface infiltration basin to provide both water quality and mitigation for quantity. For the lighting, the main lighting design is kind of focused in on the building and the drive-through area. There are canopy lights that are built into the canopies that provide downward lighting, and then we are proposing 4 additional poles on site. So 3 of those poles are along the drive-through lane to kind of provide that preliminary and lighting for customers and employees that are using the drive-through lanes. Those are all the lighting is full cutoff, downward facing, and these 3 poles are shielded. And then there's 1 additional double head fixture in the center of the site, just to kind of provide safe lighting as you work your way around. Kind of really the goal was to, try to tuck in the drive-through, the lighting, and kind of the improvements kind of closest to the main road. We do have many commercial uses kind of up Salem Turnpike. We have a car wash on the other side of us on New London Turnpike. So really kind of trying to create that harmony at this intersection with the other commercial uses that are here. For landscaping, we're incorporating some additional trees on site, as well as providing evergreen screening around the trash enclosure. Kind of in our conversations with city staff, and something we would work with them on, is incorporating some additional headlight screening and kind of screening with the property to the south of the site. So it's definitely something we're, again, willing to kind of work with staff to ensure is incorporated into the project. I'm not going to go in depth. I'm happy to answer questions, but we did submit a full traffic impact study at TIS with this. Again, when you look at the trip generation and you look at the pass by traffic, so this type of use, in working with Connecticut DOT as well as IT standards, drive-through uses have a pass-by criteria. So what we find is about 50% of the trips that are generated by this type of use are already on the road today. When you do look at the trip generation of just those new trips being generated, we are below 50 new trips in a peak hour, which typically that sets the bar for when we move from a kind of a traffic report to a traffic impact study. Early on, kind of given the intersection, understanding that there's traffic on the road today, and in kind of working through ultimately the encroachment permit process, we did complete the full traffic impact study for the project. So what we did was we looked at the existing condition, we performed counts, we performed a capacity analysis, a queuing analysis, as well as a collision analysis. We also took into account the future DOT intersection improvements into that study to kind of give a comparison of what would be that future condition with the build out, but also what would be that future condition once DOT implements these improvements kind of into this corridor. And what we kind of found across the board is that the project, won't have a significant or adverse impact on traffic conditions. We saw, the delays of less than a second at all the driveways and at the intersection itself. And we also kind of highlighted as part of that study, we looked at the site circulation, the access, we looked at the parking as well. And we did include some feedback on kind of the grand opening, or we call it kind of a honeymoon phase, where a queuing management plan would be put into place to kind of ensure that, during that first 1 to 2 weeks or during special events, that the queuing is properly managed on site. It's something kind of important to make sure that the site can operate kind of in those conditions as well. I'll just kind of touch on some of the key operational info. I know it was kind of requested in the letter as well. So hours of operation, Sunday through Thursday, 5:30 a.m. to 10 p.m., Friday and Saturday, 5:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. We find kind of the peak weekday is 7 to 9, which is expected, and the peak weekend is 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., which does align with what we found, what we found through various studies. In terms of queuing, we typically see about 14 cars. There was a count that was recently done at the Verdon location that saw the peak was 17 cars at the site. So again, here we have 20 queuing spaces and a full bypass lane. So again, plenty of queuing on this site to safely accommodate the use. And the pass-through lane or the bypass lane really kind of helps with that. So if there's a time where, they are experiencing a high volume or they're doing an event, the pass-through lane can be used for ordering as well. So it really helps us kind of move vehicles through the site. And the average time is about 3 to 3.5 minutes. So, given how this drive-through is designed, it really moves very efficiently through as well. A question we sometimes get, I think I'll hit on it quickly, is cold weather. Obviously, we have employees outside. I mean, Seven Brew operates in Wisconsin, Wyoming, plenty of other cold states. Obviously, there's, I believe, 7 stands open in Connecticut right now. We've just received 3 other approvals recently as well. So employees have heated vests, they have gloves, they're rotated in and out. There are heaters on the canopies as well. So we want to make sure that everyone has a good experience, not just the people picking up their Seven Brew drink, but also the people that are working there. And then in terms of kind of wrapping everything together, so we did look through section 3.2C. The site meets all the kind of the bulk standard setback coverages for the site. We've included that in our zoning table on the site plan sheet. We've also evaluated section 4.9, the drive-through facility standards. The site has been designed in accordance with the drive-through standards, and many of the kind of changes to get us to this point were to ensure that we comply with them as well. And we wanted to kind of really make sure that this is a really great location in the city. We're really excited about it. We want to make sure that it's a really good product and that people can really enjoy it. So we're very, very excited to be here. Appreciate the time. I'm happy to go into anything in more detail, share any additional documents that were submitted as part of the application. But again, thank you for the opportunity to present.
Any other questions?
Sure. So just quickly, as was mentioned, we did route this around to different departments. We did receive comments from NPU that have been addressed with satisfactorily in the last day or so. City engineer and I had multiple meetings with the applicant team. We looked at changes site plan.
So as the city engineers,
At this point, he's okay with everything. He wants to press the MPU is okay with the press post approval. They mentioned they're coordinating with DOT. They are going to expand the exit onto the turnpike to include separate terminal lanes. Let's see. Yes, one thing, did you cover the outdoor noise volume and music? You play outdoor music on the site?
I'm happy to touch. So the Seven Brew is part of the experience, does have outdoor speakers. The volume is adjustable, so it can be adjusted. Really, the goal with the speakers, they're not placed throughout the site. They're part of the building, so they're really kind of oriented with the employees in mind and the kind of the customers in the drive-through lane. But as noted, they are adjustable. I think the intent here is we want to be good neighbors, both to the people near us as well as kind of the community. But it is part of the experience that they have. And so there are speakers kind of associated with the building.
Just know that there was some concern. See, the site is located in a highly sensitive area for archaeological resources. Previously, asked them, we added to the plan. They contact our department if things uncovered. The proposed monument sign does not meet the zoning regs, so they're going to have to change that. Project's approved. They need to add the signature block. I asked if they change the proposed bike rack to be 2 inverted U or posted ring racks, concrete pad. You can review the proposed architecture of the building and make comments if necessary. We can general commercial zone. It is a standard design for their franchise. Ask that the landscape architect confirms that the proposed plantings are native to Connecticut, not invasive. And then I did have a note, it's not required because the house is based to quite some time, but they're going to work with us out of the street. I do have one thing I'd like to add tonight as a condition, would be to extend the sidewalk on the Pleasant Turnpike side through to your driveway to improve pedestrian access, because there's a seat bus stop that's located right there on your property. And if you look at the street today, the grass is all tranquil because people wait for bus there. That's the bad condition. Other than that, I have some conditions here that I asked to waive reading at this point, but be included in a motion to approve. And suggested reasons would be the proposal conforms to Chapter 6, Section 3.2.c, Section 4.9, Section 7.4.a.
we have, does anybody make a motion in connection with the application?
I'll make a motion of approval, as long as they include staff stipulations, including the extension of the sidewalk. I'll include the memo here, and that proposal conforms to Chapter 6, Section 3.2.c, Section 4.9, and Section 7.4.a, the zoning regulations.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Take Dan, second. A motion and second by Dan, and any discussion? Dennis? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Josh.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Good. business, we do have a matter to take up. The request from the zoning enforcement officer for administrative approval authority for our T Brown Park Pavilion. Excuse me, an outdoor seating area, SB 2604. Which was approved at the last meeting.
I remember it was out, yeah, recent, the Howard T. Brown Park.
The park improvements. And so, Rich Shuck, the zoning enforcement officer, is requesting the commission to authorize the city engineer and himself, the zoning enforcement officer, to administer, review, and approve a proposed modification to the development previously approved under special permit application SB 26-04 for the waterfront redevelopment project at Howard T. Brown Park. And the proposed modification consists of the installation of an outdoor bar and seating area, including a covered pavilion measuring approximately 23 feet by 70 feet, 1,610 square feet. The proposed pavilion and seating area are intended to function as an accessory component to the existing food service building approved as part of the waterfront redevelopment project. Will provide covered outdoor seating and service space for patrons utilizing the facility. Based upon a preliminary review, the proposal does not alter the approved principal use of the property, expand the limits of development in a manner that would substantially affect circulation, parking, access, drainage, utilities, or other material elements of the approved special permit. The proposed pavilion is accessory to the existing food service operation and is consistent with the overall intent of the approved waterfront redevelopment plan. Given the limited scope of the modification and its consistency with the previously approved special permit, it is requested that the commission authorize the city engineer and zoning enforcement officer to review and approve the final location, design, and associated site improvements administratively, provided that all applicable zoning, engineering, building, fire, health, floodplain, and other regulatory requirements are satisfied, and that the improvements remain substantially consistent with the approved SB 26-04 development plan. This administrative review process would allow the project to proceed efficiently while maintaining compliance with all applicable municipal regulations and conditions of approval. That was respectfully submitted by Richard Shaw, the zoning enforcement officer. So this would need motion addressing that request.
I'll make a motion that commission authorizes the city engineer and zoning enforcement officer to review and approve the final location, design, and associated of this. You need anything, man?
Just to regarding special permit.
This is SP 2-36-04 development.
We have a motion regarding that, the request for administrative authority, and yes. A second by Jason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Good. Anything else, Dan?
The other business?
No other business.
All right, well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion, we got a second. Jason, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience tonight.
Fine.